Yo, yo, what's going on, everybody? Jay the Great here, back with another stream, going solo today. Hope you're all doing well. Certainly hope you're all doing well. By the way, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. It's really appreciated. Gets up in the algorithm, helps every video. So if you take a second to do that, really appreciate that. Make sure to hit that like button, folks. So the new gen anime era, right? It's certainly in an interesting place right now. And that's what I wanted to speak about here today. Boruto, as you can tell by the screen before your very eyes, carrying the literal new gen anime era. I know it gets hate on Twitter and other places as well, but Boruto is carrying anime, new gen anime, with older anime essentially being grandfathered in and still being very popular, right? One, because some are still running, like for example, One Piece, and two, because it's hard to fill in the shoes of iconic anime, right? Such as Naruto, such as Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Super is running, but the point still stands. Dragon Ball is very iconic overall. So, the new gen anime in general is in a weird position right now, right? No new gen anime has really taken the helm, I should say. Truly, not yet. Boruto is certainly leading the race, but yeah, it's a weird place that anime's in currently. But yeah, folks, feel free to ask any questions at all. Any questions at all? I'm going solo, but I had to come and talk to the people. I always enjoy it, always will, whether it's with the whole crew or solo. If you're a OG fan of the channel, y'all know that I was solo for a long time. That's how this podcast came to be. So I'm certainly capable of going solo if need be. But yeah, folks, any questions you may have, feel free to ask at all. As far as content, expect more crossverse content as well. That'll certainly be coming here and on the second channel. If you're not already subscribed to that channel, make sure you subscribe to it. I post clips there. I post other content as well, crossverse content, and other content, just anything that comes to mind. And expect a big Naruto project on this channel soon. I actually collabed with one of the best creators in the space. It's recorded. I just need to edit it and get it up. Hopefully by Thursday or Friday, it'll be up. So expect that to come as well. I'll be hinting at the topic and things of that nature soon. So expect that to come soon. But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. Feel free to drop them. We can get into it for sure for a while. Another thing that happened recently as well, just to hint at the new video while you guys come in and ask questions. I was actually convinced that novels, Naruto novels, certain ones, are in fact canon. I was in a sort of middle ground when it came to the canonicity of the novels for quite some time, but I was convinced recently. Um, I'm not going to spoil who I collabed with, but that same content creator convinced me because I saw some data that I wasn't familiar with or didn't know was there, and he basically convinced me that the novels are canon. So certain novels are certainly canon. And when it comes to canonicity, I might as well get into that while you guys ask questions. Canonicity is certainly interesting. Canonicity is always discussed, right? In anime in general, what's considered canon and what's not. And Naruto is certainly no exception to that. In fact, canonicity in Naruto is especially perhaps intricate due to the many types of literature that are out there for it. Right? For example, of course, the manga, which takes precedence over all, the anime, the novels, the video games, the movies. So certainly discussed quite often. So me and this content creator had a discussion about it, And do you think the Boruto hate now is just for clicks? I believe so. More times than not, when I see it on social media, it's more than likely for clicks and for what I call rage bait or shock value bait, high shock value social media postings. I do believe that's the main reason we see Boruto hate because it truly has greatly improved since Two Blue Vortex has been introduced. Since part two of Boruto essentially has been introduced, it's been very good. I was a critic of Boruto prior to that, especially early on when Boruto first dropped. But now it really is very good. Every chapter of Two Blue Vortex has been very, very good. Um, I do believe most of it is rage bait. The only thing with Boruto is that anime only people are starving because the manga is monthly. I agreed, but there are many um, other verses, fandoms of verses that are, waiting for that, such as Dragon Ball, right? We haven't seen any new animation, who knows how long, right, as far as anime episodes. But yeah, that's certainly true, though, certainly. Um, but Boruto currently it's in a good place. Thoughts on the promo vid that just dropped? Are you speaking of Boruto or Dragon Ball? Let me check. Let me look at Dragon Ball. I do know that Sparking Zero is close. Dragon Ball Dama, I believe. Certainly looking interested to that. Certainly going to check that out. Thoughts on JJK ending? So here's the thing. JJK overall, you cannot say is a bad narrative nor bad manga. I will say that. It was very, thrilling during its peak times, right? During the golden era of JJK, such as Toji versus Gojo, Gojo versus Akuna, and many other moments. But the ending was disappointing, sort of anticlimactic. Maybe it was even rushed. Who knows what happened behind the scenes of the production company with Gege, or maybe Gege just wanted it that way. Gege is certainly a different type of author. He's willing to eliminate characters for good, right? And they don't ever come back. He's willing to take risks that many authors aren't willing to take, such as killing Gojo, right? A very beloved character. We've seen hesitation from others, from other manga creators, doing such a thing. Um, JJK's a solid 7.5 to 8. Overall, that's fair, yeah. Overall, including the ending. Yeah, the Two Blue Vortex, the new promo video that just dropped. So I haven't heard of any promo video, but let me go and look at that. Promo. See here, promotion video. Boruto part. Oh, okay. Boruto Part 2. Is that what a teaser trailer? That should be certainly interesting. Certainly. Have you seen the base Kaba versus Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta discourse? I've seen I've skimmed past videos of it. Six streamed about it. Ty Learned posted a video about it. I've been seeing it circulating in the Dragon Ball fandom. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta versus Kaba. Interesting. Now, off the top of my head, Kaba, he's a younger Saiyan. Let me go ahead and look this up real quick. These videos that have been circulating. From my recollection, Kaba was able to, impress some. He went to Super Saiyan 2 in the Tournament of Power. Kind of got bullied by, Super Saiyan Vegeta prior when he went Super Saiyan. So perhaps the power cliffing, I'm assuming, is why he is being pit up against Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Um, Kaba should win. He was on par with Vegeta that absorbed Super Saiyan God into his base form. Right, right, yeah. I could see why that matchup came to be and why it's discussed, right? Because the power cliff against Super is ridiculous. We do know that Saiyans, um, while they do acquire new transformations, their base forms themselves passively increase in power as well, right? It's kind of an inherent, implicit thing. Like, for example, obviously, base Goku now, right, currently, is clearly stronger than base Goku in the Saiyan Saga, for example, right? So I could see why this conversation came to be. Uh, Kaba should win. Now, off the top of my head, I do conclude that Goku and Super Saiyan and current Vegeta's base forms are quite impressive. They have absorbed God Ki. They're capable of, acquiring and utilizing God Ki. Hence, their base forms are quite extensively more powerful than it used to be. Off the top of my head, I probably would lean towards Kaba because of that as well. Honestly, the biggest fan Copers ever are GT fans. They will never admit that their story is heavily flawed. Certainly doesn't live up to the Dragon Ball legacy. I do agree with that. It's not horrible, but yeah, there's certainly flaws in that narrative. It's an interesting matchup, though. I wonder how that came to be. Sort of a random one, in my opinion, as well. As a matter of fact, me and this content creator that I made a video with, Naruto related, but still related to this, we're discussing how in anime, right, a generalization you can make is that as the narratives progress, characters become more powerful, right, and villains usually become more powerful. The antagonists that the protagonists face. So as a byproduct, villains of the past are usually weaker than the villains of the future, or rather, antagonists of the future are usually weaker than the antagonists of the past, right? So this matchup right here, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta versus Kaba. Kaba's in an era where we see God Ki, we see gods, we see angels, we see Goku achieving Super Saiyan Blue and Vegeta as well. So it makes sense logically as to why, rationally, why Kaba would be above, because he's in a new era where power cliffing has, uh, you know, been accomplished multiple times at this point, in comparison to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. It's interesting matchup though. I definitely want to watch videos on that, including Six's stream on that. I'm actually thinking of making a Dragon Ball video soon as well. After I post this collab video I got that I just finished recording this morning, actually. I prefer Boruto, but Demon Slayer is the king of the new gen anime. Interesting. Orochimaru versus Kakashi during the Boruto era. So Orochimaru is implied to become more powerful, right? In the war arc, and then in Boruto as well. I would actually lean towards Kakashi because in the novels we do know that he is, superior to his war arc iteration, excluding DMS. I think we can all agree with that. He's not stronger than DMS, but he's certainly more capable as a shinobi in comparison to his war arc iteration prior to DMS. The feats in the novels are quite interesting. Purple Lightning is something he acquired as well. Orochimaru, there isn't much empirically stating, a jump in power, at least in my knowledge. You could assume he's become more powerful. I do know that in the anime, at the very least, if you want to consider that canon, he is impressed by his son's performance as a Sage user, right, Mitsuki. Um, and it's almost implied that Mitsuki's above him. So I would lean towards Kakashi overall. At the top of my head, I'd say Kakashi is superior in the Boruto era. Anything interesting happened for you the past week? I've been watching One Piece. If you guys want to ask me questions about that, made some headway on that. Certainly enjoying the narrative. Love the world building so far, um, as well as just the IRL endeavors. Thinking of projects for you guys. A Dragon Ball one I have in mind. The collab I just did today. Set that up. It was, it was bound to happen for sure. Once you see who I collab with, You guys will see why I say that. Should be a great video, Naruto related. Just, brainstorming the next steps and YouTube wise, RL wise. Um, obviously, as far as friends on here, it's unfortunate where that stands currently. You guys all know what happened to Batman. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, he's doing well. Um, yeah, you finally entered the Grand Line. Yeah, they reached the Grand Line, I believe. Or they're definitely at least near it when they fell into that giant whale's mouth. And they're dealing with this weird criminal syndicate. They're trying to bring the princess home. Forgot her name. But they faced some of the higher ups already. Like five, I believe, who can make every part of his body explosive. So I'm definitely enjoying and to see where it's going. Did you see the Last of Us season 2 trailer? I actually have not. Let me see. Last of Us season 2. I didn't even know they dropped a trailer. I've been behind on some of the media. Sky trailer. I see. Let's see this real quick. Feature days. I'm gonna mute it because I don't want to get copyrighted for the music, but okay. Is that Tommy? I believe so. Okay, so here they're in Jacksonville. I see. Damn, that's a lot of a lot of infected. That's Abby, I see. Okay, so I see what point of the narrative they're getting to, just from it being even muted. Cool, cool. Nice. All right, I'm definitely looking forward to that. No doubt about it. 2025, okay. All right. Did you retrieval arc Butterfly Choji versus Final Valley Sasuke? Oh, Sasuke would destroy him. Destroy him. It would be competitive. I know the 100 times amp. I'm inclined to believe that's more so strength wise and not overall stats wise. And even if it was stats wise, he barely was able to take out, the weakest of the Sound Four, and barely lived to tell the tale. So clearly he wasn't that much above him. So more than likely Sasuke would destroy him badly. So you're on Whiskey Peak. Gotta love it as a Zoro fan. Zoro, man, is pretty cool, dude. Yeah, when he took out like all those men in the crime syndicate, very impressive. Very, very impressive. How strong would a prime, healthy Kimimaro be? So here's what we do know empirically. Orochimaru was going to use him as his vessel. He accompanied him when they assassinated, the son, the father of Gaara, right? We do know that. Um, so he considered Kimimaro enough of an asset to help him fight, or at least, be present during a Kage level battle, right? Because as we all know, Gaara's father is blatantly Kage level, Rasa, right? So I believe Prime Kimimaro would theoretically be probably Orochimaru level, Prime, if not above that. He would certainly be Kage level, even at the bare minimum low Kage, in my opinion. He'd be very formidable. And if Orochimaru inhabited his body, who knows what his potential would have been, right? He would have obviously uh, expanded upon his potential, right? Being inside the body, right? The host body. So he would have been extremely powerful. And it's even implied, if you want to use the argument, that Kimimaro battled, a KCM1 clone and actually got rid of it. You can argue, that maybe it simply disappeared because Naruto was fatigued from using KCM all around the battlefield and clones, etc. But if you use that argument, then it makes even more sense what Kimimaro could have become. You know? But yeah, folks, any questions at all? But yeah, going back on One Piece, certainly enjoying where I'm at currently for sure. I've heard of Alabasta Kingdom already, and I've heard many say that when they arrive in that area, it's a very good, some of the parts of that narrative are very, very good. So, AJ, Boruto is leading new anime. What anime is it leading? Attack on Titan and JJK is over. MHA is widely not widely loved as it once was. DB is okay, but super flawed. Bleach is super good, but ending soon. So all new gen anime. Um, Now, well, despite some ending, they're still discussed. Like JJK just ended, right? So it's still in that new gen category. Attack on Titan, it's sort of in the middle ground. It's been around for some time, um, but could be considered. MHA has been around a long time, from my understanding, I believe as well. But Demon Slayer, I believe, is borderline new gen. JJK, Chainsaw Man, Karubachi or whatever it's called, that one that's always leading in the in views for some reason. I haven't read it, so I don't know why that is. So anime like that, it's certainly leading the charge now, I should say, currently. It's leading all those anime. The ones that have been around for perhaps 10 or less years or 7 or less years, some arbitrary number like that. But Bleach and Naruto and One Piece and all that, of course, they're not new gen. They've been around for decades at this point. So thanks for answering. Yeah, I got you. But One Piece is the only major anime still leading everything, and Demon Slayer is great from what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard Demon Slayer is great as well. And like I said, earlier, these older generation anime are grandfathered in, right? Like for example, Dragon Ball, because of the legacy it has, it's romanticized and it's been grandfathered in as the topic of discussion, right? And clearly, we're still getting new narrative, such as the manga was super. It's on a hiatus currently, but we've got Black Frieza, Gohan Beast, things of that nature. Vinland Saga is continuing manga, but I started a long time ago. I've heard of Vinland Saga very uh, abruptly, not very often, but I've heard of it. Boruto is carrying on his shoulders the new gen era. It has to be said. With JJK's disappointing ending, with the others just not very popular in comparison to the anime that are discussed today, it's carrying today. So the hate that I've seen is certainly bizarre. We all have our subjective likes and dislikes. That's inevitable, and there's no way to conclude what truly is good and what's bad. But some of the hate I've seen is bizarre. But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. It can be about Boruto, content, sports, whatever. IRL, the presidential elections, quite the event apparently. So feel free to ask about that and all the events that have transpired. Glad you enjoyed the One Piece. A lot of people find the low power level of everyone pre Arlong boring. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of world building, but I'm a hardcore anime mind, so I don't mind that. I've always been a fan of stories, and clearly One Piece knows how to tell one, so I'm a fan for sure. I've always been a fan of stories, even if it doesn't consist of high power and fireworks and explosive battles. Like I don't need that every time. It's cool to see that, which is why Dragon Ball is probably my favorite anime of all time. But yeah, definitely a fan of One Piece for sure so far. But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. I had to come solo, just like back in the day. It's been a while. I come solo for this one. Make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. It's really appreciated. Try to get this one to 20 likes if we can as well. Last one hit 20 likes. Really appreciate that. Feel free to do that here as well. If you could do that, it'd be pretty cool. Plenty of things going on, yeah, in the world, I should say. Anime wise, clearly politically, sports wise. Plenty, plenty. Where does Prime Kushina scale under the Akatsuki? Now, here's what I'll say about Kushina. There's really no indication, right, that she is a combat specialist, right, that she's a shinobi that is known for her ability to battle, right? And in the one shot, actually, people miss this. In the Minato one shot, it's stated that generally, right, Uzumaki are war fodder. That's actually stated by one of the Uzumakis. I believe it was Hashirama's wife. She stated that Uzumakis are known to be fodder as far as war, but they are known for their very powerful life forces, and that's why they are very suitable candidates for Jinchuriki, right? So that's why Kushina became Jinchuriki, because she was a suitable candidate for it, known for being an Uzumaki and a very powerful life force to kind of contain, Kurama inside of her. So clear, honestly, she would be lucky to get past Hidan. I'll say that. She's not a combatant. Not a combatant. Now, if, of course, Kurama were to, start to leak chakra out of her, then clearly she'd be much more capable. Probably do okay. Probably maybe beat Hidan and Kakuzu, being generous, but that's about it. As we know, Akatsuki members are capable of that prerequisite, according to the data books, to be an Akatsuki member is to be able to slay Jinchuriki, tailed beast. That's the whole point of being in the Akatsuki. So she wouldn't do too well. Not a combatant. I do see some weird claims made that she's like extremely powerful and whatever, but she's not. Empirically, that's not the case. She has a powerful life force and is a great Jinchuriki, but she isn't extremely formidable combatant by any means. There's nothing empirically to really imply that. In fact, to the contrary. So, but yeah, folks, any questions at all? Feel free. Any questions at all? Plenty of things to discuss, which is why I like to shake it up on on these podcasts, just to talk of all, whether it's anime, IRL stuff, media, culture, whatever. I like to shake it up. Power levels are increasing now from barely not being house level to Luffy one-shotting Erlong's building, so it's wrapping up. Yeah, I do see that. I do see that a trend. He's certainly accomplishing more impressive things now. Quite impressive compared to like early One Piece, or very, very, very early One Piece, I should say. So, how far do you think Orochimaru would have gone with Sasuke's body? So, he wanted Sasuke's body for the potential, right? And the way it seems, right, the way it seems this sort of transferring of body works is that his abilities are perhaps inherited by the vessel, right? We kind of saw that like a pseudo sort of execution of that when Sasuke killed Orochimaru, quote unquote, right? He kind of inherited some of his, resistance and snake substitution, things of that nature. So it would have been similar, but I do think Sasuke's body would have inherited Orochimaru's entire arsenal and physical prowess. Now, on top of that, he would have had the Sharingan, right? So, what Orochimaru would have attempted to do is perhaps, being very intelligent, I would deduce he knows of the EMS. He would try to acquire MS, perhaps, before facing Itachi, and perhaps then try to acquire the Itachi's eyes to get EMS, and then he'd be extremely cracked. Or perhaps try to take Pain's eyes if he would deem himself formidable enough to take Pain on and take his Renegons. So he would have gone very far, very very far. Perhaps even reached his goal of absolute power. Um, there would still be some, I would say, modifications he'd have to make to Sasuke's body, including training, to acquire more power. Because even with Sasuke's body, he still wouldn't have been powerful enough to take on someone of the likes of Itachi or Pain. Um, yeah, I would say he would still have to work a little. Clearly it'd be a big jump and a big up in potential being in Sasuke's body, but um, his chances of success would have went up, and he certainly would have at least gone to the point where he perhaps would have been a threat to Itachi or someone like Pain. Um, it would have been a dark ending, if he got Sasuke's body. What if Pain attacked the Cloud Village instead of the Leaf Village? Now the question is, right? The Raikage is there, Killer Bee is there. How would they have performed against Pain, right? Because then the question is, what is the difference between, you know, Pain Arc Stage 1 Naruto and the Raikage? It seems empirically and logically that the Raikage is faster than Sage Mode Pain Arc Naruto. Because if you think of it this way, Minato told Naruto after he, quote unquote, was beating or about to beat Pain that you're going to need to master the Nine Tails, right? To defeat the man in the orange mask, right? The man in the orange mask is Obito. Obito is able to react to the Raikage during the Five Kage Summit, right? And as a teenager was able to compete with Prime Hokage Minato, who casually reacted to the Raikage. So thinking about it that way, hence, as a byproduct of that observation, you can make the claim that the Raikage at full capability is above the likes of Pain Arc Stage Mode Naruto. So if Pain theoretically were to do what he did to Konoha and use like let's say a Chaotic Shinra Tensei, and he's fatigued, there's a very good chance that he will lack the speed to compete with the Raikage, on top of Killer Bee aiding him and all the other formidable shinobi like Darui. He might actually struggle, if not fail, to slay, let's say it's Killer Bee, right, because he's a Jinchuriki. He might actually fail to do so if he's fatigued. Now, if he's full power, that's where it becomes very interesting, right? Then you have to compare Pain to Nagato, right? Because Nagato's Neto effortlessly reacted to Killer Bee and KCM1 Naruto. And if you conclude that Pain is at least relative to that, then he most likely would at least be relative to the Raikage in V2, right? Or perhaps above him. So it really depends on how Pain decides to take action in the Cloud Village. If he decides to just go right at Killer Bee full power, then he may actually be successful because he has full power, full capabilities. His physical stats would be at their maximum. There would be no fatigue from Chaotic Shinra Tenseis, for example. In my estimation, he's very calculated. He's not, like Itachi level intelligent, but he's not dumb. So he would be aware of the Raikage. He'd be aware of Killer Bee's capabilities, being a perfect Jinchuriki, and I doubt he would use something like the Chaotic Shinra Tensei at that point. So I do believe he more than likely would be successful because I do, and I'm inclined to believe that full power Pain is at least relative to Nagato, and there's no reason not to believe that to be the case. Obviously, the farther the passive Pain are from Nagato, the weaker they are, right? Because the chakra has to travel more of a distance, and they're farther away from the chakra signal, quote unquote, which is Nagato. But I do believe they're at least relative to him. I do believe he'd be successful in the end if he, is thorough and not kind of lollygagging and decides to throw Chaotic Shinra Tensei at the village, then he'd be fatigued and his chances of success would go down. I live in central EU. Gotta go vote in 8 hours or so. Need to hold against the far right now. Central EU, I see. Yeah, there's certainly division in the US as well. Certainly. With the far right and the far left. Much division. As much as ever, unfortunately. So. But yeah, there are many factors going back to that question when it comes to Pain going to the cloud. And, for example, attempting to take Killer Bee. It's definitely a taller task, for sure. Mostly because of the Raikage and his speed. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Feel free. Any questions? Even if I'm solo, the show must go on. So here we are. I agree with the title and of the stream. What's going on, Project? Come on, brother. Yes, sir. You know, Boruto's not even tired. You see him on the screen. He's like, hey, I'm not even sweating. I'm carrying all new gen anime and I'm not even sweating. He's that guy. He's that guy. You know, it's that simple. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? You know, anime, IRL, politics, sports, combat sports, the P. Diddy situation, whatever you guys want to ask. How did the Edogen Shuriken compare to the six passive pain? So I would say the main difference, right, is the vessels that they are in comparison to the passive pain. The passive pain were simply corpses, right? They're dead corpses that Nagato acquired that were used as vessels for his Renegon abilities. There is nothing else to say, right? There's no amps on top of that. However, with the Edo Jinchuriki, they had their inherent Jinchuriki abilities, as we all know, and they had the amp of Obito's visual prowess, right? The Renegon and the Sharingan in this case, I believe. They were actually amped by Obito, right? So they had their own respective Jinchuriki abilities on top of the visual prowess being provided by Obito, which is something a lot of people overlook, sometimes purposely for a certain narrative. People want to spin to imply that Kakuzu beats Pain. But anyways, those Edo Jinchuriki were very powerful. On their lonesome, clearly they were powerful without being, controlled by Renegon. But they had the visual prowess, amping them even further, which makes, KCM Naruto's, feats all the more impressive when he's combating them. Luckily enough, the far-right party would need for a coalition, to which the other parties raise a glorious middle finger. I see. W. What are your thoughts on Dragon Ball Daima making SS4 canon? There were leaks about it. They're calling it Super Saiyan Primal, and the design will be slightly different. That's very interesting. So, I must say, perhaps they're appeasing to some of the fans that have always wanted that. That's probably the main reason I would deduce as to why that is. Now, as far as the power scaling aspects of that I'm curious to see, of course, and I certainly want to see how Super Saiyan 4 performs when Dragon Ball Daima, actually releases. Certainly very curious. And I wonder what else will be made canon, perhaps from GT. Certainly interested on that. I would deduce, I would predict rather that it'll probably be below God Key transformations, right? I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Below Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, obviously Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, True Ultra Instinct, etc. So, I would assume it's above Super Saiyan 3 because 4 is higher than 3, simply put. But I want to see what that, with that being a leak, I'm certainly curious as to what else, what other ideas are going to be presented in Dragon Ball Daima. I'm definitely curious now. You know, definitely curious. Also, I'm definitely looking forward to Super's manga returning. I wonder. I think we're all hoping for that. Gohan Beast versus Black Frieza battle. Now, I'm not going to expose my theory on that for video making purposes, but that's a battle I want to see. And I definitely have my thoughts on it. So apparently there's a video called the Diddy Files. Apparently he was involved in a lot of the Pac and Biggie beef. I'm not surprised, man. The stuff coming out on that dude is insane. Now, something I must bring up, and apparently this is a trend with multiple celebrities on social media. They're eliminating all their posts, almost as if they're erasing something. That's very, very suspicious. Like I think J Lo was one of them. I think Megan Fox. There's a couple Usher as well. With all these events coming to light, with the feds digging for proof, you see celebrities deleting their social media footprint. That's very suspicious. Why is that? If innocence is all that they're going to claim, why is that the case? Why is that the case? That's crazy to me. Crazy. So who knows what will be exposed in the coming months. Definitely won't be stronger than Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan, unless you go the route of a Saiyan, can tap into their inner. Um, yeah, I agree with that. Definitely interested to see where they scale compared to Super Saiyan Blue. Yeah, certainly, man, certainly. Definitely interested to see the logic behind that and how that works, and sort of that being in the canonicity of Dragon Ball, and the canonicity of Dragon Ball Daima. I'm interested in all that. Yeah, but the whole Diddy thing, man, fucking crazy, fucking crazy. The man's been suspicious to many for a long time. Um, we'll see, man. We'll see. He's currently in a cell, denied bail. Clearly, the feds believe in their minds to have him dead to rights to bring him to trial, with them again having a 98 to 99% conviction rate and success rate when it comes to trying to imprison the people they bring to trial. And there's a reason for that. So we'll see. We'll see. Like Drizzy said, the dark is coming to light. It always does. 50 Cent man trying to warn us for years. Hey, W 50 Cent. W 50 Cent. W to the fact that apparently he's going to make a Netflix documentary exposing all this craziness. W 50. He's been a W for years. W 50 Cent, bro. He tried to groom Usher and Justin Bieber. Bro, the videos, dude, like, of him interacting with, like, a teenage Justin Bieber, bro, is so weird, bro. So weird. And now that we are here, right, in hindsight, those videos are just even weirder. It's really strange, and clearly he has some weird behaviors and patterns, among others. But 50 really been trying to tell us, bro. 50 is a W. He's not about that shit. Don't play that, and he's gonna make a whole documentary, hopefully, so we can analyze and hopefully get some more light shined upon the darkness. The darkness of who knows what Diddy has done, and people around him and stuff. All that darkness will be exposed and brought to light. Crazy times, man. Crazy, crazy times. Another thing I saw, speaking of Diddy, is that Kamala Harris was in this video with this dude. She seemed like he was, was his girl, and he had like another girl on his other arm. I don't know what that's about, but that's strange to me. That's all I gotta say. This chorus will be missing. "You" song will be still played on the radio. People won't give a shit. Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be the case. When these kind of things happen. Certainly, certainly unfortunate. Yeah, looking back on the interaction between Bieber and Diddy, that whole situation, I just cringe not knowing what we know now. Yeah, dude, that was strange, super strange. All these videos of like fucking, Bieber being treated weirdly by adults and shit. Like, it's fucking weird, man. Fucking weird. I don't. Sad, man. Who knows what that kid went through? And Usher. Usher and Bieber and all those people. It's crazy. All I gotta say is that stuff is crazy. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? All I gotta say is Cat Williams was right, man. In that interview with Shannon Sharp, boy, can he not have been any more right. Can you give us some teases on what's upcoming on the channel? Yeah, so the first thing that's going to be coming to the main channel is a collab I had with a certain creator that, and I'm glad it finally happened. That's coming. It's a Naruto related topic. After that, either another crossverse video, or a Dragon Ball video I have in mind. Speaking of all the Dragon Ball hype, another Dragon Ball video, and then more crossverse content. So yeah, but expect that collab video to be out by Thursday or Friday. Who is your most wanted collab? Man, that's a good question actually. Probably, it was, I mean, I've already collabed with him, but TG was my most wanted collab. Besides that, of course, Swag Kage would be an honor, but I kind of want to earn my stripes before like asking him flat out. Swag Kage, of course, six. Probably even TG still. TG he's one of the best, if not the best, content creator right now in the Naruto community. So shout out to the boy. Sage, of course. TG, Sage, Swag. Number one's probably TG. But shout out to him for already making that happen. Um, but yeah, those are the guys on my list for sure. Do you believe in any conspiracy theories? Now, I tend to calculate things logically for the most part when it comes to conspiracies and the logical possibility from my own mind of what that is. So conspiracy theories that I see as plausible, for example, the pyramids, right? The pyramids. That one is certainly interesting, right? Because of the massive proportions they are and how long they've stood tall, right? And apparently they were made thousands of years ago with this massive human effort when technology and architectural knowledge was subpar compared to today, obviously. So the chances of it being a mass human effort seems unlikely. And perhaps, I don't know, man. It's perhaps supernatural intervention, extraterrestrial intervention, whatever you want to call it. I think that's definitely plausible because it's very convenient that humans were able to create that and nothing of the sort for what, thousands of years. Again, this is very bizarre. If you six and Swag make a podcast, call it the SSJ podcast. That'd be crazy. Yeah, that's a perfect name actually. Yeah. Shout out to Dragon Ball. Yeah, that'd be a W. Six been on the grind lately. Yeah, shout out to Six. He has been on the grind. He's been streaming a lot. Yeah, like you said, he's been streaming a lot. Shout out to him. Definitely W. But yeah, conspiracy theories always makes you wonder. You know, that one's one that I might be inclined to believe. Maybe the moon landing thing. If they could verify to us comfortably that they went to the moon as many times as they said, then I would think the theory is a joke, right? The conspiracy theory. But I don't know, man. There was this sort of, a lot of people don't know this, but when it came to superpowers, and even today, there's always this arms race to superiority, right? Technologically, battle-wise, as far as war, financially, just on the grand world stage. There's always this arms race between the the superpowers of today, right? China, the U.S., Russia. So you could argue that the U.S. was attempting to compete with Russia to the moon, and perhaps they fabricated that they went to the moon. That's very plausible. This is a game of perception, a game of image, a game of reputation as to which country is the dominant country of the 20th and 21st century. So perhaps the moon landing was fake. Perhaps. How far into multiversal is DB right now, do you think? So what we can say, obviously and very safely, is that the Xeno twins are beyond multiversal, borderline omnipotent, perhaps omnipotent. The Angels, perhaps multiversal, perhaps. The upper echelon combatants like Goku, you can make the argument that they're multiversal, right? Such as, with feats such as the Infinite Void being shook by him when he combated Jiren. And as we all know, it was an infinite void. It was a dimension of infinite size. And additionally, the universe of Dragon Ball, right, as we know, I believe is 7 times larger than our own, right? So theoretically, because the universe has been shooken multiple times in the narrative, that in our own universe, it could be said that Goku's multiversal because he could shake multiple universes of our own, right? If they're to be put side by side, right? Because it's 7 times smaller. So yeah, I do believe that you could argue that the upper echelon combatants and beyond, including the angels and the gods, and the obviously the Xeno brothers, the twins, they're multiversal. Yeah, you can at least make the argument for that. Thoughts on the running Twitter gag that Kaba can beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? Yeah, so someone asked me that earlier. I wonder how that came to be, you know? Out of all people, Kaba, why him? Why him? I wonder why. Maybe because he's like a kid, he's kind of known for being a wimp, even though he's not weak, he's not like ass. He's a kid with a lot of potential from another universe that Vegeta seemingly took under his wing during the Tournament of Power. So, interesting matchup. Interesting matchup. You could make the argument that Kaba could be Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with power cliffing, perhaps, but interesting matchup, though, that I've seen kind of spring up from the community. I saw a vid that Gogeta collapsed Kaba, but I don't agree with that. Yeah, I saw some videos, and Six streamed about it, apparently. I haven't heard what he said about it, but yeah, I need to check that out. Base Kale versus Kid Buu. Base Kale versus Kid Buu? So, if it's the Kid Buu from the Buu arc, obviously, we take his scaling, right, and what he was able to accomplish. Now, Base Kale was able, I believe, I forgot, the specifics. It's been a while. But she was able to compete with Goku to a certain transformation, if I'm not mistaken. And because of power cliffing, I'm inclined to think Kale would defeat Kid Buu. Now I know what people are gonna say. How she's just a kid. But power cliffing is a thing. It's almost like with Boruto, right? To say fucking Boruto at like 10 is beating a bunch of the verse is crazy and stuff like that. But power cliffing is a real trend. And speaking of, I said this earlier, for the people that already hear, they heard this already, but me and the content creator that I made a video with discussed this actually, kind of like on our free time off recording, that when animes progress, there's a common general trend, which is that characters become more powerful, right? The characters of today are more powerful than the characters of yesterday. That's not absolute, and that's not always the case, but in general, characters of today are more powerful than characters of yesterday, right? Because as the narrative progresses, the challenges become greater, the villains become greater, they become more powerful, right? You compare, look at Dragon Ball, for example. We go from Vegeta in the Saiyan Saga to Frieza and Namek to then Cell, right? Where the protagonists have to become more powerful. Go to the hyperbolic time chamber, Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 1.5, Super Saiyan 2. Then we go to this Buu arc, where fusion is necessary, and Super Saiyan 3 on top of that. And then we get to Super, where we then start talking about gods, right? So clearly there's an upward trend in the ability of the antagonists. And because of that, protagonists also become more powerful. Hence, logically, that's probably why these matchups are coming to be, right? Kaba versus Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, for example. Um, it's an interesting trend. It's not always the case. I'm not saying it's absolute. Clearly, it's not always the case, but yeah, there's something to note with these matchups coming to be. So yeah, I would say base Kale most likely. Off the top of my head, I'd have to rewatch her feats and stuff specifically, but yeah. I've seen people claim that shaking the universe is low multiversal, so that would check out. Yeah, at least in Dragon Ball, I'd say. Yeah, agreed. I remember when everyone thought Monica was a Beerus rival. Huh. But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. Um, with this is an observation I've made with new gen anime and anime that are still running. We're getting power cliffing before our very eyes, right? Like with Boruto, for example. Boruto has surpassed his father, perhaps even at his best, perhaps even Baryon mode. He certainly surpassed his father at his prime, excluding Baryon mode. I mean, the guy destroyed Code, right? No limiter Code, who's above Jigen, who slammed Sasuke and Naruto prior to Baryon mode. That's just a blatant power cliffing and surpassing of the older generation, right? That's why I said the characters of today are usually stronger than the characters of yesterday, right? There you have it, right there. It's just that simple. It's that simple, and that's a general trend in anime. Battle shonen anime. I should say, be more specific. But that's the era we are in. And we romanticize these characters. We are very fond of these characters. Like Naruto, for example. The thought of him being surpassed sucks. The thought of him being just the past sucks, but the passing of the torch takes place eventually. And Dragon Ball is an exception because the rumors that Toriyama was supposed to pass the torch to Gohan, but due to fan backlash, he changed his mind, and Goku's still at the helm. That's a thing. So that's an exception. I don't mind it because Goku is AW, but still. Do you see a situation where Goku and Ultra Ego will need to fuse in the future? And what do you want to see in the future story of Dragon Ball Super? So, yeah, I do think Black Frieza is the reason why that would take place. He one-shotted these guys effortlessly while in their full power, both in their max power, right? Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. So essentially, they would have to fuse to close such a tremendous gap, right? And this is right off the jump, right? Because think about the Broly movie, right? They were doing all right against him, right? They were able to ward him off until he started to get insanely powerful, and then they had to fuse, right? But here they got one-shotted at their full power. The gap was already there, right? The gargantuan gap that one-shotted these guys. Not even Broly did that, right? He was beating their asses and they had to leave, but this dude one-shotted them, took them out, could have killed them if he wanted to, but he was so confident in his ability that he let them live just so they could live with the fact that he is way above them. That's why he let them live. And because he probably deems himself even enough to fight Fusion. Because he's aware of Fusion. He's seen it. He saw them become Gogeta and almost kill Broly. So I think he's the reason why they fuse. And I hope we see some fusion, right? We do have Gohan Beast as well. Maybe he fuses with one of them. Maybe Vegeta fuses with him. Maybe Goku fuses with him. Maybe Goku and Vegeta fuse. That's probably more likely because they've already fused before. So I would love to see that and see that battle take place. And that's the only way I see the gap closing anytime soon between Black Frieza and the Z fighters. Honestly, that's the trajectory I hope that we see. Thoughts on adult Naruto versus adult Sasuke in their prime excluding Baryon mode. So adult Sasuke has more hacks, right, as we all know. But we got to take into consideration how he fights in character. He's not the type to do, Obito type action where he sends people to different dimensions, right? He doesn't have Conway, but he has the ability to use interdimensional teleportation, right? But he doesn't do that really often in battle, right? He never tried that with Momo. He never tried that with Kinshiki, for example. He never tried that with Jigen, for example. So that's not something in character that he does when he's combating, right? That's the best, in my opinion, the best bet to defeat Naruto, because Naruto has better durability, better stamina, and higher AP, in my opinion, as well. So, in my opinion, if they're fighting in character, right, and let's say they're fighting in character, but we remove the fact that Naruto never kills or anything. Let's say that they're trying to kill each other, right, but they're fighting in character, if that makes sense. They're just not. They both have killer intent, so I should say. Naruto will most likely win. He's a powerhouse, right? He has the AP thanks to Kurama, thanks to him being in his physical prime. More witty now. A lot of people don't realize how witty he is as an adult. We've seen his ability to strategize, such as when he fought Delta, right? He kind of theorized, okay, if this machine can absorb chakra and jutsu, let me just override it, right? That's smart. So the guy isn't dumb at this point. So I do see Naruto taking this one, more than likely. Would at the very least outlast him. At the very least. He has more chakra than Sasuke. I eventually want to see the Angels go rogue and fight everyone, but that realistically won't happen. Goku and Vegeta would need a big ass pull just to keep up with one Angel. Yeah, dude. I mean, Whis, look at it this way. Whis was skipping around Broly, toying with him. That's how much above these guys he is. That's just fucking crazy. So yeah, that'd be insane. If he's doing 10 years in the time chamber is actually wild. He literally woke up that morning and said, I'm sick of these monkeys. Bro, that dude's grudge is unlike any other, man. The guy's diabolical. I mean, just think about all the humiliating moments this guy's had, right? The Namek saga, right? He goes there. He's like, I'm the man. Goku comes. He goes Super Saiyan. He beats the shit out of him, leaves him on a fucking dying planet. Then he has another interaction with another Saiyan, right? With Trunks when he's Mecha Frieza, gets sliced fucking effortlessly. Then we see him again during the battle, the Resurrection of Frieza movie. Gets fucked up again. So the guy has obviously a hell of a grudge against these guys. It obviously has a god complex, a superiority complex, and these guys have always had his number since the Namek saga, and he hates that. He's sick of it. And what's crazy is eventually his sort of lax nature, and due to his narcissistic and superiority sort of complex, caused him to actually train. I mean, he's like, "Fuck it, I have to train. It's the only way I can kind of take the lead in this race, so to speak." So the dude went in the time chamber for a decade and came out the most powerful fighter in the universe, aside from obviously the gods and angels. It's crazy, man, crazy. Do you think Boruto or 8 Lee stands a chance against Otsutsuki? So, this is what I say about Lee, right? Clearly, the 8 provides a ridiculous amount of power. But this is why the way I think about it logically. If Lee isn't present, Kakashi isn't present, Sakura isn't present during these epic and extremely high stakes battles, then most likely the writers are concluding that they're not enough, right, to combat these individuals, right? In the anime, I believe it was Lee in base, but he got fucked up by Jigen, or it was rather Ishiki, very badly. Well, the guy was just like slapping him away, right? Now he wasn't any gates, but he got slapped away. So more than likely, I would say no. I don't think that's enough to take them on. Um, Maybe make them look at them and say okay, but I don't think it's enough to like actually defeat them. Yeah. That's just my logical sort of uh, thought process when it comes to that, and others like Sakura and like guys like that, people that are considered powerful like that. If Obito had both his eyes, where would he rank in the top 10 strongest shinobi list, including Six Pass and Boruto or characters? If he had both eyes, he would be right below probably only Madara and Hashirama. That's it. He'd be above Minato because he nearly defeated him as a teenager in Konoha when he infiltrated Konoha with the Nine Tails. So he almost had equivalent reactionary and perception speed with one eye. So imagine with both eyes having an amplification in speed, he would have defeated Minato. So he would be above him. He'd be above Itachi. He'd be above the Akatsuki. He'd be above all the Kage. He'd be the third strongest in history, excluding Boruto era and Six Pass characters. Oh, and excluding 8 guy. I still believe he'd be below him as well. He'd still be below 8 guy. But besides that, he'd be technically, I guess, the fourth strongest after Hashirama and Madara and 8 guy. He'd be below them. Extremely cracked. Extremely. And yes, he would be above KCM2 Naruto, in my opinion. He'd be above that as well. And EMS Sasuke. Prior, obviously, to Six Pass. The fact that he's still below Beerus after all that training is mind-boggling. Dude, the retcons for that dude, man. What can I say? We've seen the guy apparently use 70% of power when Goku first awakened, God Ki. Now all of a sudden he's still above all of them. Hundreds of chapters later and years later, and probably who knows how much their power has amped since then, but apparently he's still above them. That's clearly a retcon. I mean, come on. Hema, strongest character in my opinion. Hey, W Hema, bro. W Hema for sure. Like, she's clearly very, very promising as a shinobi. Top 5 strongest female Naruto Boruto characters. Honestly, number 1 might be Himawari right now. Dead ass, no joke. She was able to impress Jura, was able to cause him to use a Biji Ball, and was able to heal a mortally wounded Inujin. So yeah, she's honestly she's probably the strongest. I'm not gonna even lie. Then it would be Sakura. Then it'd probably be the Tsuchikage, the current Tsuchikage. She was able to at least arbitrarily react and strike Otsutsuki. Then it would be, I guess, Tsunade. Trying to think about the top of my head. Actually, scratch that. After Sakura, it would be Hinata. Because Hinata has 6 pass chakra based off the Boruto movie, right? She got Hamaru's chakra. So then it would be Hinata. Then it would be the Tsuchikage. Then it would be Tsunade. Those are the top 5 strongest in history, from my recollection. Sasuke died prematurely. Would the next Indra reincarnation come from the Hyuga since the Uchiha would be extinct? Interesting. Now, how would that even work, right? Because it's always been an Uchiha, right? Now, you'd have to ask the question of is that the way in which the reincarnation process works, right? Does it work in that fashion? Well, we can say that, Naruto clearly wasn't a Senju, so you could argue because of that, it doesn't have to be essentially an Uchiha for the Indra reincarnation, right? That doesn't seem to be a prerequisite if, again, Naruto wasn't a Senju. He was an Uzumaki. So it could be a Hyuga. It could be a Hyuga. Very, more than likely. Probably would be from a powerful clan, right? Because typically reincarnations are from powerful clans, the Senju, the Uzumaki, the Uchiha. Or you could argue that because of what Sasuke and Naruto accomplished, that's dead. That sort of process is no longer the case because they stopped that vicious cycle, right? They stopped the cycle of hatred, as Madara explains it. So there is the possibility that that reincarnation process is no longer the case, right? Because of what they accomplished. They defied fate, right? For the first time in Naruto history, reincarnations lived together in harmony, right? Because of what Naruto did. He defeated Sasuke in the Valley End and they became friends. That's also a possibility. You think Hinata and Tsunade are beating Ida, Delta, and Kaguya? Oh, absolutely not. They'd get absolutely obliterated. Obliterated. I forgot. If you meant, I thought you meant just Shinobi. But if you include them, then number one would be probably Ida, actually. Then Kaguya. Then, then Himawari. I do think Himawari would be Delta. Possibly. Himawari, Delta, Sakura. I was just including Shinobi. But yeah, it would be Ida and Kaguya and those people. Sarada's EMS, would it even work? They have to make her broken for her to be relevant. Currently, here's the most impressive thing she did. She was able to react and combat Hidari, but my theory is that Jura is way stronger, and here's why. I mean, I said this in the review. I'll say it again in the Chapter 14 review. Jura, as we know, it's not really a spoiler alert. The chapter's been out for a week, but spoiler alert: he's not a clone of any shinobi, but rather a pure incarnation of the Ten Tails itself, which explains why he's so much more powerful than everybody else. Right? He is a pure reincarnation, a sentient incarnation of the Ten Tails. We all know how powerful the Ten Tails is, right? So he's probably an apt Ten Tails essentially, while the others are clones of Shinobi, right? Hidari is a clone of Sasuke, right? The new Shinju Ryu is a clone of Shinki. We have Matsuru, whatever her name is. She is a clone of Moegi, right? And then we have Bug. So Jura not being a clone of any shinobi, but rather just the Ten Tails itself, explains why he's so powerful and why he one-shotted Kawaki, why he one-shotted Boruto, why he's so much more powerful and nearly killed Himawari, and why he solos like the whole verse apparently right now. So it explains why. It explains why. But yeah, Sarada, you could say theoretically is relative to the other Shinju because they haven't displayed anything remotely close to what Jura has displayed. No one is able to compete with him right now besides maybe Damon, who doesn't even seem to give a shit about anything. He's just watching and sort of enjoying the show. Um, so yeah, the Shinju are interesting to scale. Clearly, Jura is the strongest. Clearly, that's obvious. Seven Gate Guy versus V2A. So V2A is, I would say, relative to KCM1 Naruto. Seven Gate Guy, I would say, is not. So I would be inclined to see V2A would maybe win that battle. Again, the gates take a toll on Guy, and I think at the very least, A would outlast Guy. The durability, his speed, of course, his ability to use high AP abilities. I would lean towards V2A actually. Masarda, with EMS, certainly would be cool. What if we get a Might Guy Shinju with his latest powers during the war with no drawbacks? You think Boruto can handle that? Man. Let's say the Shinju has 8 gates. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. Again, there's no implication yet, from my estimation, that the Shinju are far more powerful than the shinobi they're cloning, right? Because Hidari struggled with Sarada. Oh, $20 from Prodigy. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that, brother. That deserves one of these, my man. Appreciate that, brother. Gotta put that on the screen right quick. Stop the show real quick for that. Appreciate that, brother. Which DBZ DBS villain would win in a battle royale? Going from Frieza up to Gas from the latest arc. Don't include Black Frieza. He obviously claps them all. So we actually know during the Granola arc that Gas is stated to be the strongest, literally the strongest combatant in the universe, excluding, of course, he'd win. But because Gas is literally stated to be the strongest, he would win against, Moro and all the other villains that we've seen, Goku Black, of course, and Zamazu and Fused Zamazu, and all those villains. He would most likely win those battles as well. I'd even say against Jiren, because at this point, Goku and Vegeta, when they fight Gas, they're obviously stronger than they were when they fought, in the Tournament of Power, and they both have Ultra abilities now, right? Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct. So I do think he'd beat Jiren too, even though Jiren's not even in that universe. I'll say this at the very least: he would beat the Jiren from that moment in time. You could argue Jiren has been training, which I'm sure he has, and he's probably even more powerful now. Perhaps even enough to compete with Ultra Instinct. I would not be surprised. I don't know. I think Moral's hacks would give him the edge against Gas. Yeah, because Gas has this weird ability that's not really seen much, but when he is surpassed in power level, for example, his body naturally makes up for it and increases his power level. That's why he was deteriorating when he fought not fought Black Frieza, he got fucking folded. But when Black Frieza came into the universe, Black Frieza was so much higher than him in power level that when Gas's body attempted to surpass that power level, his body literally couldn't handle the amount of power that would require, right? So his body literally fucking deteriorated, and then Frieza just killed him, just fucking standing there. His aura literally fucking killed him. That's how powerful he is. So, but yeah, Moral's hacks is interesting though. So perhaps that could kind of close that gap in power. Certainly a possibility. If anyone could do it, it'd be Moro. If anyone could be Gas, as far as the villains are concerned, it would be Moro. I agree. Give me a second, folks. Got to put that on the screen. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate the 20. Put that in there real quick. Where we at? Where we at here? All right. Give me a second, folks. Put that on the screen. Appreciate that again, brother. Really appreciate it. All right. What are Sarada's MS abilities? So currently we haven't really seen that yet. So she has it, right? As we all know. We know she has them, but she hasn't really displayed them at this point in time. What would be really cool would perhaps be a variation of Amaterasu maybe, or maybe some sort of weird medical ninjutsu because Sakura is her mother. Something cool like that, perhaps. A new sort of genjutsu maybe. That would be cool. But from my knowledge, we don't know exactly what that is yet. Hopefully we see that soon, which I think we will with, the Shinju seemingly making moves. Jiren, yo, chill, nobody beats Jiren, respectfully. Yeah, I had to say, mate, current Jiren might just be Gas, you know what I'm saying? Orange Piccolo versus Broly. Here's the thing about Broly. Broly seems to have no ceiling, right? The only reason that he was defeated was because he was nearly killed due to the huge gap in power at that point in time. So Orange Piccolo could theoretically kill Broly if he's like bloodlusted, but that's not a character. And Broly's been training, by the way, so he has better control of his power. Broly would win that one. No, he's more powerful. I mean, even now, currently, Vegeta and Goku consider him dangerous. Even now, where they're more powerful than they were in the Broly movie. So that goes to show that Broly's also becoming more powerful as well. Even in his base, he's becoming more powerful. So Broly more than likely would take that. Goku would have been lost if killing was allowed. Yeah. Certainly, he would have been killed very quickly. Very, very quickly, and that shit we would have never got the Tournament of Power the way we got it. Broly collapsed Orange Piccolo. He lost his Cell Max. Facts, bro. Yeah, he would lose. Broly's ceiling has not been explored, if there is a ceiling. Now that's another possible battle, man. Broly versus Black Frieza. You never know. You never know. Maybe they'll say, you know what, fuck it, go wild, Broly, take him out. We might just see that. We might just see that. Who knows, man? The possibilities are endless. Certainly endless. Dragon Ball's in a nice place. Dragon Ball's still in a nice place. Dragon Ball Dama, Sparking Zero, certainly. Adult Gotenks versus Orange Piccolo. So this is the way I look at Gotenks. We do know that hybrids seem to be more powerful than pure Saiyans. Look at Gohan, for example. Look at Trunks, for example. Gotenks, he became Super Saiyan at like 5 or some shit, like some crazy ass shit like that. And not even Gohan did that. So you can imply that perhaps his potential is even greater than Gohan's. And because of that, by the time he's an adult, just imagine the possibilities. Just imagine what he's going to accomplish, what ceiling, what heights, what rare air he's going to reach as a Saiyan. I do believe he'd, honestly, off the top of my head, this is all speculative, but I do believe he'd beat Orange Piccolo as an adult, honestly. Rank Minato, Kakashi, Itachi, and Tobirama based on intelligence. Intelligence, okay. Number one, I'd probably say. I mean, there is a statement that Naruto makes at the beginning of Shippuden where Kakashi's smarter than Shikamaru, but that was a younger Shikamaru. Number one, probably Minato. He has the highest academy scores ever, if I'm not mistaken. Then probably Kakashi. Then Itachi, then Tobirama. That's probably what I'd say as far as intelligence. Tobirama invented a bunch of shit and stuff, but it's because he was around before everybody else. He was around during the pioneer era of Shinobi. So Orochimaru Shinji with full control. Oh Jesus. Orochimaru as a Shinju would be very formidable, very intelligent, very, very powerful. I mean, clearly a threat to most of the verse. Let's just say that. A very good addition to the Shinju sort of clan, so to speak. So, but yeah, folks, any questions at all? Any questions? Appreciate the 20 again, by the way. I probably appreciate that, brother. But yeah, Broly, man, the potential that guy has is ridiculous. Who do you think has the saddest, heartbreaking backstory in all of anime? I used to think Itachi, but rewatching all DBZ and Super, I'm leaning towards Trunks. He really went through it. Trunks has a really bad one. I mean, all the trauma he's seen. And all anime. Now, I've only partly seen this anime, but Guts from Berserk. I mean, the shit that dude had to endure is ridiculous. I mean, it's fucking dark. Uh, so maybe Guts. Trunks is a good one too. He saw his whole fucking world destroyed before his eyes. It's sad. Obviously, Itachi's a good one. I love Jay. I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate that. Who do you think was stronger, Might Guy or Might Die or Kakashi's father? Oh, definitely Kakashi's father. Think about it this way. Might Die in Eight Gates was only able to defeat, I believe, 4 out of the. Well, he defeated all the legendary swordsmen of the mist, but he only killed like 4 of them. And not to say that the legendary swordsmen of the mist are fodder, but we see how they perform as Edos, right? They're not exactly the most powerful. Kakashi and Guy are like dealing with them and etc. Guy's obviously not using Eight Gates himself, and Kakashi is just not using his full capabilities either, not sniping calmly or anything like that. So Kakashi's father was stated to be, to where the Sani pale in comparison to him. So more than likely, Kakashi's father would wipe the floor with Guy, with Might Die, even in Eight Gates. So from that, I've said this before, because you have the Eight Gates, it doesn't necessarily automatically make you Eight Gates Guy level, right? Eight Gates Guy level was capable of nearly killing a 6-pass fucking combatant blatantly in Jubidara. Might Die, conversely, barely defeated 7 swordsmen of the mist and only killed about half of them. So that's a big, big gap that people don't realize or don't know. So yeah, Kakashi's father would wipe the floor with him. Why do you think? What do people think Hokage Minato and Jonin Minato are that much different? All that happened was that Minato getting a job promotion and a new cape. Yeah, so that's always discussed, right? That's always discussed. What's the difference? Is there a big gap, perhaps? One, you'd have to figure out the time difference between when he fought the Raikage and when he fought Obito, right? Now you can say there was probably some jump, unless the time was so. I'd have to go back and look if that's confirmable. If the time was like a couple weeks or some shit, then it really is. It's negligible. He's the same shinobi. Now if it's like a year or something like that, then perhaps there's some growth, right? Arbitrary, but there's some growth. Um, so that's another thing you have to consider. But I do see what you're talking about. Some people consider Hokage and Jonin Minato like leagues different from each other, right? Which I do see sometimes. More than once he saw this world get destroyed and had to run back to the past for help both times. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue the trend in Dama and have it happen the third time. Yeah, dude, it's sad. Definitely sad, bro. All the trauma he's seen. He's very battle hardened because of that. What's an off-screen Naruto fight that you want to see the most? Man, off-screen. Maybe off-screen that we know happened, but we didn't see it. Maybe what is a fight? That's a good question, actually. Off-screen. Oh, Kakuzu versus Kakuzu versus Hashirama. I want to see that. I want to see that. I can more than likely conclude what happened, but I want to see it. Definitely. Or Tobirama versus Kin both times. That would probably eliminate these bizarre factions that of fans that these shinobi have. What's your take on pulling Frieza out of hell for the tournament of power? So much hate around that. To me, it makes sense because he's calculated. They know his intentions. They know that even though he cares for himself, clearly he's going to take the battle serious because if he doesn't, his universe will be erased. Right? So there is no way around it. It makes sense logically why he was pulled from hell for that. He's powerful. He's able to compete with people that have God Ki, and clearly he'd be a good addition to raise the chances of success for them to not get their universe erased. So yeah, I don't hate it. It makes sense to me. I only want to see Hashirama spank Kakuzu to troll a certain someone. Yeah, bro. Exactly, man. Exactly. Or see Tobirama get fucked up by Kinkaku and Ginkaku. Not gonna lie, it'd be satisfying. Can't even lie. It'd be very, very satisfying. That's why I kind of wished we got a Tobirama one shot, man. Just to fucking see it and get this shit over with. Or a Kakuzu one shot, but no one will ever vote for that dumb shit, so we probably never get that. But maybe a Hashirama one shot, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, that's a good question. Those are definitely the battles I'd like to see off that we didn't see, that were off screen. Another one, speaking of off screen battles, maybe, I mean, we know the conclusion, but just to see the scaling at that point. Hanzo versus the Sanin. I'd want to see that just to see how dominant. Clearly, he spared them, so he was dominant, but how badly did he really beat them? Um, how did they scale to him at that point, conjunctively? I'm kind of just curious to see. Obviously, he's above them, obviously, but, would be cool to see. Just to see it, like, in detail. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Any questions at all? It can be about anything, like I always say. Anime, IRL, sports, um, current events, the community as well, like what's happening in the anime community. Like apparently Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta versus Kaba is a thing, which I've only recently seen. The amount of records we'd get if it was a Tobirama or Hashirama one shot would be crazy. The Minato one shot changed a lot of scaling already. Facts, bro. Facts. That's a fact. It changed so much. It makes him look fucking cracked as shit. What he did as a fucking kid, teenager, barely mastering the Rasengan and then fucking stalemating a fucking Bijou bomb at like 14 or some shit. It's fucking crazy. Guy's cracked, man. Sasori versus the third Kazekage. Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, that would be a cool fight to see how that played out. I know Sasori said it was a tough battle, but just to see how he, handled the Iron Sand and all that, that would be pretty cool. What if Danzo, Tsunade, and Sakura teamed up against Fatigue Pain with Kodo, Izanagi, and 100 healings? What are the chances that they win? So obviously it would depend on the version of Sakura. Now, if it's like Warwick, she would fucking destroy Pain because she's like punching Kaguya. But if it's like at that point in time when, like the Pain arc, she really wouldn't be that much help and they would have no chance. The physical superiority that Pain would have over all of them is so drastic that even if Danzo were to use fucking Izanagi, it wouldn't do shit. Their best chance would be Kodo. Their best chance. That's if it even works on him, right? They can pull that off. Because it is a body, and then you have to get into the argument is of would Kodo affect Nagato directly because he's hitting the path of pain. I would say more likely because he's seeing through the path of pain, like his eyes are seeing through it. So I would say it would. But Kodo is their only chance, and their chances are low. If Pain is fatigued, excuse me, if Pain is bloodlusted, he will fucking destroy him very quickly. Very quickly. Rip all their souls out. Just speed blitz and rip their souls out. Now, if he's fighting with a different intention, like against, Naruto, for example, where he couldn't kill him and he was trying to prove a point ideologically with his, pain speech, then they'd have a better chance. They'd have more of a time window. They'd have more time. They'd have more opportunities. Their chances in general, I'd say, are very low. Very low. And they're by far the best win condition is Kodo. Not even close. That's by far. Maybe their only win condition, to be honest. And it makes watching Obito look even better for hanging with him in Kushina. Yeah, bro, exactly. It makes everybody look better. It makes Obito look better. It looks KCM and Naruto look better. It makes Itachi look better because he's respected by Obito. It makes a lot of people look better. It's crazy. Crazy. The power scaling sort of revisions made because of that one shot are pretty crazy. Kuroma's potential is insane. He went from Naruto getting ragdolled by Jigen to outboxing Ishii to his death and fodderizing all of his attacks. Imagine his potential now with Himawari. Bro, that's a good point. Yeah, man. I mean, look at Himawari now. Just what barely awakening the power what she did, dude. I mean, yeah, Juro beat her, but damn. Like, Juro was like, shit, I'm actually have to try a little bit. That's the first time he said that. He didn't even say that with Boruto or Kawaki. He said that when he battled Himawari. He said, okay, I gotta try a little bit. Like, that's the first time he's ever said that. The girl's cracked. So, man, she's gonna be a powerhouse. That's all I gotta say. What other universes do you think adult Naruto and Sasuke would be able to run the Fade with, both at their peak strength? So let's get some out of the way that they'd obviously destroy. Let's see. The One Piece I'm familiar with, I haven't watched all of it. They would slam. It would even be a competition. I would say JJK, they'd fucking obliterate. Obliterate. I'm not, I don't subscribe to like the fucking black hole scaling and like beyond the speed of light and all that shit. Nah, I don't agree with that. These guys are city level max, and those are like the peak characters. They would destroy. They fucking fodderize JJK. What other verses out there? Dragon Ball, they'd be able to run the Fade all the way up until Cell Arc, perhaps. That's being generous. All the way up until the Cell Arc, they'd be able to compete. They would like run the Fade with most people. So there's that. What other verses? I'm not familiar with MHA, but I heard it's fodder, like in comparison scaling wise. So they probably fuck everybody up in My Hero Academia. Bleach is the end of the line. Oh yeah, Bleach, you're not fucking with Bleach, bro. Definitely not current Bleach that I'm familiar with. Fuck no. Makes sense why Damon had that reaction when he saw her. He looked at her and said, she's different. Facts, bro. That's the only person that could fucking, literally the only person that could nerf fucking Damon is Himawari. Oh god, bro. But yeah, Bleach is in the line for Sasuke and Naruto. Facts, bro. The fucking Bleach is cracked, bro. Multiversal. Competing with DB is hard though because potential vast gaps in speed. That and just AP and just overall physical stats by the time you're reaching like the Buu arc, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, extreme, extreme. How fast is Waragara's sand? So I've talked about this before. So an important moment to discuss is when he saves Sasuke from the Red Kage, right? This isn't Waragara, but this kind of bounces off of that. When he saves Sasuke from the Red Kage, a lot of people claim that his sand is light speed because the Red Kage tried to attack Sasuke. That's not the case, and here's why. The Red Kage is falling laterally, right? He's not going in linear fashion. He's not using his dash attacks or his lightning chakra type of speed attacks. He's falling down. The only thing aiding him is gravity. Gravity is the only thing aiding him in his attack, right? So he was aware, right? Sasuke was aware of his attack. He was going to use like the Amaterasu spikes or whatever they're called. And Gaara was able to intercept that and stop them from killing each other. That doesn't substantiate him being light speed, nor his sand. That again, that was the Rikage falling downward. That wasn't like V2 Rikage blitzing Sasuke like prior. This was him falling downward and only gravity alone aiding his speed, right? So he was going fast probably, but not nowhere near light speed. So because of that, Waragara either is not light speed. His sand is fast. We see how he performs against Datara, for example. Datara was holding back, but still was trying. He's as fast as Onuki when he flies. Onuki's certainly not slow. Perhaps lightning speed, perhaps above that. But I'd say by the time Warwick he's above lightning speed, his sand rather. Um, I know people would say, well, he pulled Madara out of his Susanoo. Madara wasn't even trying. He was toying with the Kage, first of all. So that's not really a feat against a full effort to Madara. Um, I would say lightning speed, somewhere in between lightning speed and I mean it's arbitrary, right? Certainly not light speed, I'll say that. Above lightning speed to some arbitrary extent, I'd say. Hiruzen versus Kakuzu. Hiruzen would slam. I don't know if you're watching T Hammer, but his last video was very interesting about the Utsuki wiping out the Uzumaki. I'd like to see your reaction to it. No, I haven't done reaction in a while, but I'll say that I always say this. I'll do reactions, like custom reactions, if for donations and stuff. Based off the length of the video and stuff like that. So I'm still open to reactions for sure. Even like old school reactions where they're not like on live stream. So if anyone ever wants a reaction to something, let me know what it is first. Obviously, I'm not gonna react to anything. It's like dumb shit or something. But let me know what it is. I give a very fair price. I'm not like some people that charge like $1,000 for reaction. Very fair for you guys that know, and I'll do it. Whether it's here or it's like an actual video. Um, how much do you want for it right now? Let me check it out. How long is that? NC Hammer. Check it out real quick. Oh shit. Uh, the Otsutsuki killed the Uzumi. Oh, okay, this video. 25 minutes. Yeah, I'd say 30. I'd say it's an interesting. Yeah, $30. I'd do it right. I'll do it live. Thoughts on A-Train versus Hagoromo? Man, A-Train is that guy, bro. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, 25 minutes, about $1 a minute, $30 around there. I'll do it live right now. A-Train is that guy, bro. MVP of season 4 or whatever. What is it? Season 4, season 5? The boys. Yeah, I haven't seen NT Hammer's content in a while. What has he been posting actually? Boruto's new ally revealed. The fifth Shinju identity revealed. So he's been talking a lot of Boruto, I see. Okay. Can I send it through YouTube? My cash app is bugged. Oh yeah, for sure, bro. However you want to do it. It's really appreciated, man. Definitely not a requirement. Really appreciated. Much love, brother. Shibai's Jutsu. Or Sangan Uzuhiku is a Shinjutsu. Interesting. Interesting. Alright, he's been posting a lot more Boruto content, I see. And it's doing well for him, obviously. Bojack versus Cell Saga Goku. It's been so long since I've seen the Bojack movie. Oh shit, $50 from Project A, bro. I really appreciate that, man. Really appreciate that, brother. Definitely deserves one of these, man. I got you, brother, for sure. Definitely gonna react to that right now. Put that on the screen real quick. Put that up. Yeah, folks, anytime you guys want to see a reaction, whether it's live or, actual video, I've done that before too. Feel free to just let me know. You can DM me, whatever. I got you for sure. I'm still open to that for sure. I'll put that on the screen real quick and get this video going. I appreciate that again, brother. Really appreciate it, man. Let's see here. All right. Get this video up. Let me put the window capture on so you guys can see where we at. Window capture. The video. Shit. Okay, there we go. Alright, folks, let me put the window capture up real quick, see if you guys can see that. Sasuke killed the Uzumaki. Alright. See here. Oh, wait. It's the wrong window. Alright, here we go. Alright, see if you guys can see that real quick and put that up. There you go. Alright, you guys can see that. Alright, I'm gonna start it. Let me start from the beginning. Make sure it's at the beginning. I'm gonna have the volume right here, folks. Let me know if that's too loud or too low. I'm gonna have it on my phone so I can see what you guys are saying real quick. Let me do that real quick before I start it. So I can see the chat. All right, pull that up. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Prodigy. Again, brother. Appreciate that. Much love, man. All right, here we go.
Boruto recently,
If that's too low or too high, let me know, folks. If I'm like lower, higher.
Part 1. And outside of the fact that chapters 52 to 80 of part 1 of Boruto are some of the best pieces of Naruto content in existence, the last 3 chapters in particular are straight heat. However,
wait, let's see what he said. That's a W. What's a W?
Of part 1. And outside of the fact that chapters 52 to 80 of part 1 of Boruto are some of the best pieces of Naruto content in existence,
hey, W.
In particular are straight heat. However, amongst all of that heat is some of the most important foreshadowing and exposition given to us in the entirety of Boruto.
It's a W, anti-hammer take.
In those 3 chapters alone, we realize that Ada's charm ability is an extension of her subconscious usage of omnipotence. We're told that omnipotence is the programming code of the entire universe wielded by Otsutsuki gods. We find out that there's no way to break omnipotence, even killing Ada won't stop it. We see Mitsuki really, for the first ever continued and sustained period of time, uses perfect Snake Sage mode. We see the awakening of MS. We see Sasuke becoming a rogue ninja again, and Boruto being exiled from the village, and so much more. However, amongst all of that, there is one sentence that's said by Momoshiki that sticks with me to this day, and that is, and I quote, "Have you ever contemplated how many times an Otsutsuki who became a god may have previously manipulated mankind's memories?" Now, these are the kind of things that keep me up at night, because that isn't just something that Momoshiki is saying to try and put doubt in Boruto's head that everything he knows is a lie. That is foreshadowing. Foreshadowing that some of the things that we know about the Naruto universe may not be accurate. See, with the introduction of omnipotence and the fact that there could be several entities out there that are capable of using it, we as Boruto fans are put in a somewhat precarious situation where we have to grapple with the idea that everything we know about the Naruto universe may not be true. And that's really cool. Not only from a reader perspective, but also from an author's perspective. See, because any and all discrepancies, plot holes, or inconsistencies in Naruto's timeline could be explained away through the usage of omnipotence. But it's not even just the weaknesses of the Naruto story that could be explained away with omnipotence. Events that we don't know that much about even.
That's a good point. So, from that, there is the theory that can be made, right, that every plot hole, quote unquote, every inconsistency, every illogical decision made by Shinobi in our eyes can simply be explained away by Otsutsuki intervention or timeline warping manipulation, right? So that's really is a good, perhaps, safety net for the writers. Maybe, won't be criticized, maybe even the narrative won't be criticized. We could all just say, hey, the Otsutsuki made this guy make this dumb decision, that guy make a dumb decision, etc., etc. That's actually something to think about. Nancy Hammer has a point with that. It's a W take. Let's continue.
and though we should, could also be explained through the usage of omnipotence. And considering the fact that Jigen was able to get his hands on Shibai's body, which heavily seems to imply that Shibai's body was on Earth, makes it seem as though what Momoshiki claimed about omnipotence being used on mankind's memories before seem all the more likely. And thus today, I want to talk about the events in Naruto's past that could have been altered with omnipotence. Events that range from Earth possibly being turned into a chakra tens of thousands of years ago to the Uzumaki massacre. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, because today we're talking the Otsutsuki killed the Uzumaki. But before we get to theorizing about anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you guys are feeling particularly generous and want to hear me talk about anime and manga that aren't Naruto and Boruto, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander. Or if you want to see me try to bring real-life challenges to the anime world, go ahead and follow the brand new channel that I created with Stephen Heat, Chris Barnett, and Danny Mata called Anime IRL. Or if you just want to hear me talk about anime and manga, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime and manga this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
So I gotta add this. I'll try not to pause it too much. Think about it this way, though, right? With NC Hammer seemingly implying that Otsutsuki have free reign on warping the timeline and history of Naruto, right? That they could do things to bend to their will. We know the goals of most of these, I would say, Otsutsuki, right? Their goal is to acquire the chakra fruit, to acquire more power, to acquire godlike power, right? More so than they already do. But logically, if you consider what NC Hammer is saying as correct and factual, why wouldn't the Otsutsuki just simply bend history to their will and simply make this effort to acquire the chakra fruit and the goal of absolute power much more easily, right? Now, that's a fair refutation to the theory that the Otsutsuki could simply just warp all of history to their will and everything goes the way they want it to because of that. Right? Why wouldn't they simply just, just make Naruto bend to the will of them and kill himself, and they take, the Nine Tails or whatever, right? The point is that they could just bend everyone to their will. Another refutation to that, though, refuting my own claim to that, is perhaps not all Otsutsuki have the same goal, right? That maybe might not make sense. Like, oh, don't all Otsutsuki want that? But perhaps that's a possibility. We don't know anything yet, right? We're learning more and more about these Otsutsuki. And we do know that Otsutsuki can deviate from the original plan. Like Kaguya, for example, deviated and turned on the Otsutsuki. Shibai, who knows what his goals were? Were they to acquire godlike power? He already has it, right? He already has it. Why would he need to bend the will of others to give him more power? He's already omnipotent in 4D. So there's so many possibilities to consider. So many sort of windows of thought that this creates, right? So it's really interesting. But let's continue. I just wanted to add that in there.
Before we get into all that today, I want to talk to you about one of our favorite sponsors, Rosetta Stone.
All right, skip this. Sponsor, though.
Learning languages is always foreign countries and speak with the people there. Language learning platform. That process, I'm able to make natural connections. Their voice recognition tool is huge. But that's not all. Rosetta Stone is why they focus on teaching you words and phrases that Rosetta Stone today. You can get 60% off a lifetime subscription. So what do you say? Sign up with Rosetta Stone today and start off. So,
all right, here we go.
All-powerful narrative plot devices. A good idea or a bad idea? Well, it's kind of hard to say, because while there is absolutely authors out there who write themselves into a corner by introducing all-powerful characters or all-powerful abilities, finding a way to balance those characters and abilities and use them in a way that makes sense and is satisfying can lead to some of the greatest writing in the history of manga. Take, for example, what I believe to be one of the better-ended manga in modern manga history, Fire Force, a story about a boy who's able to fire fire out of his feet to propel himself to be super fast. Well, the story ends with him becoming a literal god and using these god-based powers to create the entirety of the Soul Eater universe, which I thought was one of the more satisfying and fun endings to a popular IP in a long time. Tie this into the fact that the power that Shinra Bachman acquired by the end of his story didn't change who Shinra was as a person, and therefore this all-powerful, omnipotent being was still Shinra to the core. Now it is still technically yet to be be seen as to whether or not introducing something like omnipotence was a mistake for Ikimoto. Omnipotence
Right.
is already being used in a way that's vastly improved Boruto as a story, as the way that it's currently being maintained in Boruto is the fact that Ada is only able to use it subconsciously, as she is not only not an Otsutsuki, but not an Otsutsuki god. However, the presence of Otsutsuki gods has been confirmed, and the foreshadowing of their existence all but guarantees at some point in Boruto we're going to be seeing them, and probably not as one of the good guys. But has humanity squabbled with these gods before? Well, there's actually a fair amount of evidence to say that they have. And that it happened long before even Kaguya and Ishiki descended down to Earth 1,000 or so years ago. Because in one of the more talked about pages in Boruto's history, when we first saw the outside of the Kara hideout, we saw that there was 6 individual Otsutsuki insignias. 1 for Ishiki and Kaguya, 1 for Momoshiki and Kinshiki, and 2 that had for some reason or another been destroyed. Why had these marks been destroyed? Why would the Otsutsuki, who are notoriously proud and notoriously loyal outside of Kaguya, either destroy another set of Otsutsuki's insignias or destroy their own? And the answer is that they wouldn't, and that instead that these destroyed symbols could be simply blamed on omnipotence. See, omnipotence is an all-encompassing power, to the point where in Konoha, if you show somebody a photo of the Uzumaki family portrait, people will point at Boruto, even if Boruto's standing right next to them, and say, that's Kawaki. And therefore, when it comes to accomplishing a goal, omnipotence doesn't really leave anything out. And therefore, there's a fair amount of possibility that these Otsutsuki insignias were either destroyed by omnipotence or are purposely being obscured by omnipotence. But why? Well, take into consideration all of the evidence that we have that Shibai at some point or another was on Earth. We have the set of insignia at the Kara hideout. We have the fact that Jigen, who does have the ability to travel dimensionally and therefore may have found Shibai's body somewhere else, but Jigen did still bring Shibai's body
Dude's
to
about
Earth,
to
so
get into that
Amino
model
could
theory.
apply Shibai's
Let's
DNA
see.
to all of the members of Kara and give most of them Shinjutsu, and how when Momoshiki was explaining about how omnipotence works, he said that Otsutsuki who become gods have the ability to use omnipotence to code the entirety of the universe, which seems to imply to us, the reader and Boruto, that Shibai is not the only Otsutsuki god, as Momoshiki's verbiage here seems to imply that there is multiple Otsutsuki gods. Then take into account Kaguya's
Wait, let me re-listen to that real quick.
The entirety of the universe, which seems to imply to us, the reader and Boruto, that Shibai is not the only Otsutsuki god, as Momoshiki's verbiage here seems to imply that there is multiple Otsutsuki gods. Then take into account Kaguya's story. See how Kaguya
So he says Momoshiki's verbiage implies there are multiple Otsutsuki gods. And I'm assuming he means in reference to that one manga that he read out that about Otsutsuki's possibly, changing the history more times than just once, or than the omnipotence that we saw from Ida. Now, from my understanding, though, Shinjutsu is usable by all Otsutsuki, right? Like, for example, Ishii's not a Otsutsuki god, but his dojutsu is a Shinjutsu, right? From my understanding. Ida is not a Otsutsuki god, but she uses a Shinjutsu because she has the DNA of Shibai himself, right? Amato, I believe, specifies Shibai DNA, if I'm not mistaken. So perhaps there are more than one, but you could refute and maybe debate him on whether or not Momo's implying multiple Otsutsuki gods. But that's interesting to think about, for sure. Let's continue, though.
up on Earth is one of the most hotly debated topics in the entirety of the Naruto fandom, because we got 2 very different iterations on that exact topic. What Kaguya told us in Naruto Shippuden is that she was chasing after seeds of divine trees that fell down from the cosmos onto planets, and therefore after chasing down a divine tree seed on Earth, she stumbled upon said divine tree, but happened to fall in love with humanity, and therefore didn't
it is a
want
contingent
to
on you
destroy
becoming
all
a
of
god
them by
among them.
consuming the
Yeah,
chakra
exactly.
that divine tree created. While the story that we got in Boruto is a lot different, as the story that we got in Boruto is that Kaguya and Ishiki descended down to Earth with the intention of turning Earth into a chakra fruit, but Kaguya, prior to allowing Ishiki to eat that chakra fruit, jumps Ishiki and tears him in half. She then herself would go on to consume that chakra fruit. However, regardless of how you look at the situation, there is one unilateral truth. Kaguya eats the chakra fruit, and usually after a divine tree has its chakra fruit consumed, the divine tree withers up and dies, like we see on Momoshiki's planet. Now, this is important, but why is this important? Well, because there's two ten-tails on Earth. There are the nine-tailed beasts and, well, Jura now. But what if what we know about divine trees isn't necessarily 100% accurate? At least in the circumstance of Kaguya, because after consuming the chakra fruit and giving birth to chakra and all of humanity,
What's interesting is that we've seen an entirely different design regarding the god when Ishiki was talking to Code about it. That's not Shibai, then Shibai. Interesting, yeah, that is true.
Later become the nine-tailed beasts. Now this seems to imply that the second ten tails, the juvenile ten tails, was actually brought by Kaguya and Ishiki to Earth, and that the older ten tails, the ten tails that later became the nine-tailed beasts, was already on Earth in the form of the divine tree that Kaguya told us she was chasing after, which tells us there was already a divine tree made on Earth prior to Kaguya and Ishiki's arrival, which seems to tell us that Kaguya and Ishiki were not the first Otsutsuki pair to come to Earth. In fact, most likely what happened is that Shibai and his Otsutsuki pair came to Earth, cast it under Infinite Tsukiyomi with the divine tree, and consumed the chakra fruit. And it was most likely this chakra fruit that led to the decimation of Earth, thousands of years prior to Kaguya and Ishiki coming to Earth. And this would explain a lot. It would explain why humanity was in such a nascent period of its evolution when Kaguya and Ishiki descended down. Because, well, yes, you can make the argument that this was technically prehistoric times for the Naruto universe. What if in actuality the real reason that humanity was so primitive when Kaguya and Ishiki came down to Earth is because they were still in a thousands of years long struggle to recover on what used to be a barren planet? That in actuality humanity used to be a far advanced culture that was bustling and full of life, until Shibai and his partner came down and wiped it out. But Nick, what does any of this have to do with omnipotence? Well, to that we come back to Shibai's body. See, because not only would Shibai's body being left behind on Earth after he consumed his final chakra fruit serve as a way for the Earth to bounce back from losing all its chakra, but also it would explain why nobody seems to know as to whether or not Shibai was ever on Earth. See, let's say hypothetically Shibai does consume a chakra fruit that is the straw that breaks the camel's back on Earth that ascends him to godhood. That means he would have to abandon his physical body and go live in a dimension somewhere. However, prior to doing that, wouldn't it behoove Shibai to hide his body? Otherwise, other Otsutsuki, or even possibly the fledgling humanity that he just wiped out through the medium of a chakra tree, could get a hold of his body and incredible power. And thus, wouldn't it make sense for Shibai if he was truly...
Now, this made me think of, maybe this is where I got this theory from, right? First of all, there are a lot of presuppositions that are not verifiable, right? We do know that Shibai is 4D, and that he probably has abilities beyond our understanding, and the way he is present in reality is beyond our understanding, being in a whole different higher dimensionality than every other entity we've ever seen in the Naruto verse, right? He is the only verifiable 4D entity in the entire Naruto verse that we are able to verify up until this point. Firstly, the sort of theory that there was a humanity prior to the introduction of the divine tree, wiping out theoretically the prior humanity, is actually similar to religious scriptures in the real world, right? Where sort of this second coming, like there's a reason why you hear this term, the second coming of Christ, right? Like he came prior and wiped out humanity, whatever many years ago, right? Thousands or whatever the timeline is in religious scriptures, such as the Judeo-Christian Bible. So perhaps from that, NCMer came to this theory that perhaps humanity was advanced and was at a certain point in history, but that was all erased when Shibai came down and did what he did to the earth, right, with the divine tree and wiping out all of humanity. And he said Shibai and his pair, right? We don't know if if he had a pair. We don't know if that's the case, right? That's all theoretical consideration. You could argue that perhaps Earth really was just a desolate place, and that when Kaguya came and bred there, that was the introduction of shinobi, and that perhaps that's not the case whatsoever, right? That humanity just came to be naturally, and there's only been one timeline of humanity. It's all theoretical consideration. It's definitely a very interesting theory to omnipotence and to the idea that it was always there, right? And with this theoretical consideration, certainly plausible. But again, logically, if everyone had the same goals as an Otsutsuki, logically, why wouldn't they make their lives much easier and just make humanity literally bend to their will if they can change the memories and the literal beliefs of humanity on a global scale, right? Which Ida did, who's not even in a sheep, again, not even an Otsutsuki god herself. So it's a very interesting theory, though, and it makes you think, what about history um, could be different or could be manipulated by the Otsutsuki? That is a plausible theory. Certainly plausible, certainly interesting. Question is, how did Imago get access to Shibai cells through Ishiki? Most likely, I theorize, right? Because Ishiki is a blatant Otsutsuki and seemingly a higher class Otsutsuki in comparison to Kaguya and Momo, for that matter. So perhaps he has more access to Otsutsuki artifacts or Otsutsuki data or Otsutsuki objects than most, right? But this is certainly an interesting theory. Let's continue.
Going to abandon his body in either the Kara dimension or on Earth to use omnipotence to erase the fact that he and his partner ever came to Earth in the first place. And here's the beauty of omnipotence. Well, yes, omnipotence, at least as we've seen it from Ada, doesn't work on Otsutsuki. What if it's being fired by an Otsutsuki god? Would it work on Otsutsuki then? We can't say, though we can hypothesize. However, the beauty of omnipotence is that even if you figure out that you've been affected by omnipotence, the way that omnipotence works is that slowly but surely that confidence will wane. And thus, what if the real reason that there's a discrepancy in Kaguya and Ishiki's tellings of their coming to Earth is because neither of them is entirely sure why they came to Earth in the first place? What if they, like Shikamaru in chapter 14 of Two Blue Vortex, realized they'd been affected by omnipotence, but didn't know in what way? They just knew that they had to get to Earth. And by the time that they get to Earth, both of them are simply blinded by the fact that they know that the divine tree that they're trying to harvest the fruit from is one of the most powerful ones they'll ever come across. See, because this not only explains the discrepancy in their story, the fact that there was a divine tree there before Kaguya and Ishiki got there, and the destruction of the insignias at the Kara hideout. If we apply this level of logic and think about how omnipotence could have been used against humanity in the past, other events in Naruto's history start to make more sense. Think for a second on the Uzumaki massacre, an event that should have been undoubtedly one of the most important events in the entirety of Naruto history, and we know next to nothing about it. And not only do we know next to nothing about it, but the entirety of the idea behind the Uzumaki massacre is one of the fishiest things in Naruto lore. Let me quickly go over pretty much everything we know about the Uzumaki massacre. It happened somewhere between the end of the Second Great Shinobi World War and the beginning of the third one, and that the reason that it happened is because everybody was afraid of the power of the Uzumaki clan. And that is it. But really, when you think about the circumstances surrounding the Uzumaki massacre, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Let's think about the political landscape of the Naruto universe after the Second Great Shinobi World War. For those of you who haven't remembered the exact events of the Second Great Shinobi World War, yeah, I can't say I blame you. The Second Great Shinobi World War is the war that took place largely in the village hidden in the rain. And this is because this war, by and large, involved Konoha, the hidden stone, the hidden sand, and the hidden rain. And for those of you who don't have the map of Naruto memorized, I'm sure we're gonna put it on the screen right now with the power of editing, but the hidden rain exists directly between Konoha, the hidden stone, and the hidden sand. And so far as we know, the hidden lightning and the hidden mist were not involved in the Second Great Shinobi World War. And thus, in terms of Shinobi World Wars, it actually was probably the least grand and wide sweeping out of all of them. However, with all of that said, even though the hidden lightning and the hidden mist may not have been involved in this war, this doesn't mean that the hidden mist and the hidden lightning were yucking it up on the side. Prior to the Fourth Great Shinobi World War and Naruto, just kind of as a whole, none of the ninja villages were even remotely friendly with each other. Especially when you consider the fact that there was only 1 to 2 years between the Second and Third Great Shinobi World Wars, and that the Third Great Shinobi World War involved every single nation. And therefore, this time period right here is inarguably one of the most tumultuous time periods in the entirety of the Naruto universe. And yet, what we're told about the Uzumaki massacre is that it happens during this time window because multiple villages team up together to wipe out the Uzumaki. Now, while yes, it is a somewhat okay explanation that the hidden mist and the hidden lightning worked together during the Second Great Shinobi World War to wipe out the Uzumaki while Konoha was distracted. And considering that the Minato one-shot has played with Minato's age around the Second Great Shinobi World War, making him 5 to 6 years older than he should be, this is a plausible explanation to how the Uzumaki clan was wiped out. This makes sense when you consider the additional fact that the Land of Whirlpools existed on the coast across from the island structure that makes up the Land of Water. And directly north of them is the Land of Lightning, where the village hidden in the clouds is. And therefore, in terms of proximity, the two countries, that were not involved in the Second Great Shinobi World War were the two countries closest to the Land of Whirlpools. However, if it was the Hidden Lightning and the Hidden Mist that worked together for some reason to destroy the Uzumaki, wouldn't that be something that was brought up again? See, because, well, yes, obviously the Uzumaki were an incredible strong point for Konoha and the Land of Fire, as Konoha basically had full usage of their Fuinjutsu and their ability to be Jinchuriki. Ironically, Konoha, prior to the existence of Naruto, never fully utilized the Uzumaki as a Jinchuriki in any capacity whatsoever. See, because, well, yes, Mito and Kushina are the Jinchuriki of Kurama, and Mito and Kushina were probably the only two people on Earth when they were alive that could have been the Jinchuriki of Kurama. The mass amount of chakra that is Kurama would have killed anybody who wasn't strong amongst the Uzumaki. However, we saw from the Minato one-shot that other villages had perfect Jinchuriki in the Second Great Shinobi World War and were utilizing them at full power. So much so that the entire plot of the Minato one-shot is Minato trying to create the Rasengan so that if Kushina is used in combat, she has a way to fight back. And thus, if you really think about it, the only village that wasn't using Jinchuriki in the Second and Third Great Shinobi World Wars was Konoha, and thus to assume that the other villages were looking at Konoha and the Uzumaki and going, oh, the Uzumaki are too good as Jinchuriki, we need to stomp them out, just objectively doesn't make any sense. On top of that, if other villages did truly revel in the power of the Uzumaki, wouldn't they try to steal a couple of the Uzumaki while ravaging the village? And yet they don't. We don't see a crop up of Uzumaki in any of the other villages that supposedly destroyed the Land of Whirlpools. There's no extra redheads running around the Hidden Cloud or the Hidden Mist. On top of that, considering how much trouble the Hidden Cloud has with Gyuki as a tailed beast, and mind you, Gyuki was being passed off from Blue Bee to Killer Bee exactly during this time period that the Uzumaki were supposedly wiped out by other villages, wouldn't it make sense that the Hidden Cloud, which has actively tried to steal power from Konoha, like in the Byakugan event, where ninjas from the Hidden Cloud tried to steal Hinata, which led to Neji's father's death, that village with the track record of trying to steal powers from Konoha would try to steal some Uzumaki to either learn their Fuinjutsu or figure out how they get their life forces so incredibly high. I mean, right? Doesn't it seem logical? If the Hidden Cloud was during the Third Great Shinobi World War willing to send in ninja.
Alright, so here's the thing with the Uzumaki, right? So his theory is it doesn't make sense that they were massacred because they weren't utilized observably. So again, being the type of debater I am, that's an appeal to ignorance, right? Just because we don't see any verifiable Uzumaki utilized in any essential or substantial way doesn't mean that wasn't the case. This actually makes me want to go. Let me show you guys real quick. The one shot of Minato. It actually has Mito kind of explain some level of what happened with the Uzumaki. So I kind of want to see what that's about real quick. Go ahead. So you guys might see it pop up real quick right here. Go back to the video. I'm actually curious to see here the one shot. So there's a page where Kushina's talking to Mito. Where is that at? It's over here somewhere. Go back a little bit. To fill your vessel with. Okay. Believe there's like some history here somewhere with that. You guys might see it on the screen right now. I'm curious now. Let's see here. What does she discuss with her? Trying to look for it real quick, folks. Alright. Seems like you're just going in circles. Your attitude slowly changes. There's this scenery. The thing is that is inside. Okay, so there's a part where she's discussing the. Okay, go back a little more. You're a strong child, even to me. You have much more lustrous red hair than me. No, this is above a spiral, so there's helix. The spiral is flat and fixed. The Uzumaki form remains unchanging, but a helix is three-dimensional. Okay, so what was the point of it? There's a part where she kind of discusses what happened to them. A clan whose members, whom acclaim as shinobi with proficient life force and silly jutsu from attuning themselves to swirling air currents. Our power became fodder for war, sinking us, and now our very existence is in danger of being sealed by those eddies. but our power brought about stability. This house and the family crest jutsu formula on the floor strengthens the ceiling strength of Jinchuriki. So the Uzumaki were fodder, right? That we do know. Mito herself says this. She says the Uzumaki clan is scattered, right? So there is some information on what happened to them. This is canonical, as we all know. They're scattered upon perhaps the nations. We have lost everything because again, they're war fodder. They're not made for combat, right? So going back to the video, despite Anti-Hammer saying we don't see these things happen, doesn't mean they don't happen, right? The writer simply just didn't include specific details as to what happened to multiple Uzumaki besides Kushina, Mito, Naruto, and Nagato, right? So it is sort of an appeal to ignorance. To say that Otsutsuki had some sort of intervention or slaughtered them is an interesting theory. My question would be, why would they do that? What is the purpose of the Otsutsuki killing the Uzumaki? Right. So I guess we're gonna get the answer right now. But that is something I wonder. What would be the purpose of that? Of killing anyone, really? They're superior vastly to all shinobi. So, but let's see.
With a fake peace treaty so they could kidnap a child and rip out her eyes to analyze its powers. Why, if they were involved in the stomping out of the Uzumaki in the land of whirlpools, wouldn't they take some Uzumaki? The same can be said for the Hidden Mist, as they have a track record of doing scientific experiments on their own citizens to make them into shark people, stealing citizens from Konoha to place tailed beasts in them so they can act as a Trojan horse in the middle of Konoha, and so much more. Why wouldn't they try to learn the Fuinjutsu of the Uzumaki? And thus, the more you think about the Uzumaki massacre, the less it makes sense. Because while yes, the Uzumaki were just one village in the land of whirlpools, they had married into Konoha. They were Konoha royalty. They have shrines across Konoha dedicated to their clan. Why would Konoha, outside of being bogged down in another great war, allow for the Uzumaki to be wiped out? I mean, without the Uzumaki, they wouldn't be able to control Kurama, the one-tailed beast they have left. So much of their village's power is tied into the Uzumaki continuing to exist. But it's not even like the Uzumaki would necessarily need the help of Konoha. They had their own village for a reason. They were direct descendants of Asura, as related to Asura as the Senju. They were one of the strongest clans in existence. And thus I find it hard to believe that
Okay, so they're not, right? Their life force was, but again, it's been verifiably confirmed that they're fodder for war, right? There's a reason why their power became fodder for war. They're not made for combat. Naruto's an exception because he happens to be the reincarnation rather, of Ashura. The others are not, right? Kushina, Mito. Nagato is an exception because he was given renegons by Obito as a child, right? So clearly he took advantage of that and became a force of nature. But again, they're not one of the most powerful clans in existence combat-wise. Let's continue.
Would be summarily wiped out by the combined forces of the Land of Lightning and the Land of Water, especially to the degree that they were wiped out. I mean, they were eradicated. The only photo we have of the Land of Whirlpools, the entire city is leveled. And I just don't see other villages doing that level of destruction to an ally of Konoha without it ever being brought up again. So what if in actuality it wasn't the other villages? What if in actuality it was the Otsutsuki? Now I know what you're saying, Nick, that's ridiculous. Why would the Otsutsuki come down and just wipe out the Uzumaki? Well, that's actually a pretty fair question, and I have a pretty fair answer.
Okay.
And the answer is the Ten Paths. See, the Ten Paths are not a Shinjutsu that only Shibai or only Kashinkoji has ever awoken. The Ten Paths are a part of a long list of Shinjutsu that Otsutsuki awaken to as they get stronger. And the Ten Paths are a wildly broken, yet hard to control ability. See, the Ten Paths, as we currently understand them, as they're being used by Kashinkoji, allows for Kashinkoji to see all possible futures on Earth. At least all possible futures for himself. And as he's actively involved in the defense of Earth, that usually pans out to the future of the Earth. However, as we've already learned from Ada and her usage of omnipotence, these cyborgs who have gained access to the Shinjutsu that were once wielded by Shibai aren't able to use it at the level that Shibai or any Otsutsuki would be able to use it for that matter. And therefore, the level of power and precognition we're seeing from Kashinkoji probably pales in comparison to what an Otsutsuki, and especially an Otsutsuki god, could pull off. And thus, Otsutsuki gods like Shibai, when they get the Ten Paths, are probably able to see all possible futures for the entire universe. And one thing that they would probably see as they saw all the possible futures of the universe was a child being born out of the Uzumaki clan. A child of prophecy. A child of prophecy who would go on to defend his planet from an Otsutsuki in what probably is the first ever recorded instance of a planet actually successfully battling back against an Otsutsuki. This child of prophecy raises the entirety of humanity in a battle against Kaguya, and not only comes out successful, but comes out stronger because of it. And this planet is infested with Otsutsuki chakra because that same Otsutsuki that the child of prophecy defeated had children with that humanity. And thus, through the blood of every single living being on this planet flows the blood of the Otsutsuki, the power to transcend the Otsutsuki. And that very same child of prophecy who defeated his great
I have a refutation to that, but I'm gonna let it finish.
Would
So
go on to have what is probably the real child of prophecy.
after
in
I'll give my
Boruto,
thoughts.
A child who one day's fangs may reach Otsutsuki gods. And thus, if this Uzumaki clan does not exist, this child of prophecy and his child of prophecy may never exist. And thus, what if the real reason the Uzumaki massacre is so cloaked in mystery is because the Otsutsukis tried to eradicate the Uzumaki clan to make sure that a timeline they saw using the 10 paths never came to be. Because the Otsutsuki, just like Kashin Koji, have the ability to see any and all possible futures, especially the futures that involve Boruto getting Shibai's power somehow and using it to kill a god. And thus, what if in actuality, the real reason Naruto couldn't go live with his mother's family was because the Otsutsuki were trying to stop Naruto from existing in the first place. And after completing the task of wiping out the Uzumaki clan and leveling the land of whirlpools, the Otsutsuki responsible for eradicating the Uzumaki clan use omnipotence to make the world believe that they were responsible for the slaughtering of Naruto's maternal clan. And that's why the entirety of humanity can't necessarily put their finger on how the Uzumaki clan came to no longer be, but has a general grasp of why they're no longer around. This not only explains how an incredibly powerful clan like the Uzumakis were massacred completely, but also explains why we've never gotten a solid explanation of how it happened in the first place. And you cannot tell me right now when Naruto and Boruto are facing down Shibai in 60 chapters, and Shibai is telling Naruto about how the reason he wasn't raised by the Uzumaki is because he raised the Uzumaki to make sure that Naruto was never raised in the first place, wouldn't be one of the greatest plot twists of all time. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you believe that there's other events in the Naruto timeline that can be explained by
Thanks for reacting to this, Jay. Very
Otsutsuki
curious to your
and
thoughts.
the
I appreciate you,
existence
brother.
of omnipotence?
Certainly appreciate
Tell me in
that.
the comments below. And why you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page.
All right, so I certainly have my thoughts on this. So firstly, here's a proof via logical contradiction, right? Because none of this is verifiable. None of it. It's all speculative and theoretical consideration. Now, he says that Uzumaki were killed because the Otsutsuki were trying to stop a reality from occurring that puts the Otsutsuki at risk, right? That stops Naruto, rather, from doing what he did in the vision that they saw, thanks to having the 10 paths ability and being able to see into the future like Koji Kashin is capable of, right? Here's the problem with the overall theory and where I see the holes in. Firstly, he admits that, while these cyborgs have these abilities, the Otsutsuki gods, right, are able to use it to a much greater extent. So firstly, if Ida is able to change history in such change the fate of the world in such a drastic way, why didn't the Otsutsuki simply, in a much more drastic way, since according to NC Hammer, Otsutsukis have these abilities in a much more powerful form, why didn't they simply just change history from long ago? Why didn't they simply just have Minato kill Naruto and change his mind into believing that Naruto is a fucking demon or something like that? They could have done that, right? If Ida's able to change the mind of the entire Earth, why couldn't the Otsutsuki do something as simple as that, right? Secondly, the Uzumaki are not an extremely powerful clan combat-wise. Again, one of the Uzumaki's leaders or elders admitted themselves that they're fodder for war. They're exploited for their life forces used to be Jinchurikis. And again, just because we don't see all these Uzumakis around during the war doesn't mean that they weren't scattered around, as stated by an Uzumaki, Mito. They were scattered around. They lost everything. Again, this was prior or around the time of the Second Great Ninja War, and Mito was very old. So you can even argue that even perhaps before the Second Great Ninja War, they already were scattered amongst the shinobi verse, right? So those are the holes in his argument, in his theory rather, not an argument, but theory, because it's all theoretical. One, if they're so powerful, why didn't they just cause Minato to kill Naruto? Why didn't they cause the Uzumaki to all jump off a bridge? Why didn't they do something much easier than try to stop a timeline from occurring by killing the Uzumaki and leaving the one Uzumaki that could change everything, that being Naruto? Why did they let him live if they're so powerful and all have these abilities? That's the hole in his argument. Why would they allow that if they have if they all have omnipotence, if they all have the ability to see into the future to even a greater extent than Koji Kashin? Why would they allow that? And again, the Uzumaki are not a powerful combat clan. That's not the case either, as confirmed by Very Uzumaki. Now, that's the flaws in his theory. That's why it's very, 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 very unlikely. But what I liked about the video is the thought of history perhaps changing at times due to perhaps an Otsutsuki. That's possible. But here's another thing. He is presupposing that all Otsutsuki have, or at least all Otsutsuki gods, if you believe there are multiple, have the ability of Shibai. The only thing we can verifiably confirm is that Shibai has these abilities, right? Because the cyborgs took and inherited the abilities of Shibai due to Amato somehow acquiring Shibai cells, which is just still a crazy feat. Most likely Ishiki is who provided him these cells, right? So, Damon has the ability to reflect intention. Ida has the ability to use omnipotence. Koji has the ability to look into the future, right? So these are abilities that Shibai once had, most likely to a lesser extent, right? They inherited these abilities. A way to think of it is like, um, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. The individual with the wood style that was with Naruto and Sai and all those people. I gotta look up his name because it's fucking bothering me. Um, Naruto wood style users. I don't know why I forgot his fucking name. Yamato. Yamato. Got it. So Yamato, think of it like Yamato. Yamato has wood style, but to a less greater extent, right? To a far lesser extent than Hashirama did, right? So think of it that way. That's the way I look at it. These cyborgs have these abilities to a less greater extent than obviously Shiba Otsutsuki. Also, there's no verifiable piece of evidence to suggest that, Jay, if you had to guess who was responsible for the Uzumaki massacre, I think in general they were exploited. I think probably multiple villages, infiltrated their village and took them for their own gain, right? Whether that was to use them as Jinchuriki, to study their life forces, to steal their Funjutsu secrets. I think all the above are reasons for their exploitation. So I think multiple villages took it, like Mito implied, multiple villages took advantage of this, which is why they were scattered amongst villages, and they're probably disposed of after the fact, right? Because of the very fact that they could be Jinchuriki, that they could turn on them and become Jinchuriki, and then become more powerful and threatening to villages, right? So I think they were exploited and kind of tossed to the side, if anything. The amount of story. The whole reason I wanted you to react to it, not because of the theory about the Uzumaki, it was because the idea that it was to have manipulated events before is actually genius. Yeah, I do think that's viable. That was the most interesting part to me as well of the video. The very fact that it could have manipulated other events that we're not even aware of. That's certainly viable. Then the question of when did Shibai die? Is he dead? Like, yes, Amato acquired cells from him, which most likely means he's dead. But when did he die? How did he die? It must have been a natural occurrence, right? Because who's going to kill Shibai in a battle? I don't know. I don't think anyone does, unless there was another god that was as powerful as him and also 4D and killed him as well. Where's that god? So there's so many questions to ask here. Um, Very, very good. As well as giving author a safety blanket. Yep, definitely a safety blanket. Things that don't make sense can be explained now with that safety blanket. That was correct. That was probably the best claim that NC Hammer made, and I agree. Very good safety blanket as well. We need the first three Shinobi Wars animated. Agreed. That would explain a lot, and probably explain Otsutsuki history as well, as it seems to be more and more intertwined with what we've learned of what the Otsutsuki are capable of. More specifically, the Otsutsuki gods, or the Otsutsuki god, if Shiba is the only one. Now, logically, I think there's only one, because why wouldn't Momoshiki explain that there are multiple? Why wouldn't he explain that there are multiple Shinobi gods? Why wouldn't that be explored at this point? You know, that wouldn't make sense. The only thing I can think of is perhaps there is an enemy of the Otsutsuki god that is as powerful as Shiba and killed him or something. There's so many possibilities. The number of possibilities are limitless. Very good video though, because of the ideas it sort of sparks up when you watch it, especially the history manipulating sort of abilities that Shiba at the very least has, right? Um, and again, you don't need to be an Otsutsuki god to have Shinjutsu. Um, any ninjutsu by the sort of the special jutsu that these Otsuki use are Shinjutsu. The dojutsu Uchi uses, that's a Shinjutsu, first of all. And he's not a god, right? So there's that as well. But very, very good video, I must say. Very, very good video. Very interesting, I must say, as well. Makes you think, for sure, the possibilities of what's to come. You know, what's to come, and very, very well done, for sure. But yeah, shout out to Prodigy for that. Appreciate the donations, brother. Also, again, if anyone wants me to react live or actually make a video, like in like back in the day, just let me know. You can DM me on Discord, follow me on Twitter, just tweet me there, DM me there, whatever you guys want. Let me know. Give a fair price like I did here, and I'll react to a video. Again, let me know. Of course, let me know ahead of time before donating anything. Like, what's the video? Stuff like that. Any requests for the video, stuff like that. Make sure to let me know ahead of time if you guys would like that. Whether it's a Naruto, it doesn't even have to be Naruto, Dragon Ball, JJK, IRL, whatever. As long as it's a obviously an appropriate topic and stuff. So yeah. But yeah, WW. Did Boruto inherit the Uzumaki life force and chakra pool? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kakashi stated that Boruto doesn't have the chakra pool that Naruto had. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he stated that. And that's in the anime, right? So you can argue that's not canonical. Um, Now, Alkins definitely will DM you then. Yeah, I appreciate that, brother, for sure. Anyone feel free to DM me and got y'all for sure. Yeah, so does he have the Uzumaki life force? You could argue this. He is a vessel of Notsutsuki. His body is able to utilize Otsutsuki ninjutsu, and I'm sure that requires vast amounts. You could argue theoretically that more than likely he does, right? Himawari certainly does, right? Because she's using Nine Tails chakra currently. So, but yeah, I would say Boruto more than likely does. I have a couple video ideas for you and Shinobi if you'd be down. Hey, for sure, man. Me and Shinobi got you for sure. By the way, yeah, if you want me to do with Shinobi, let me know as well. I'll even probably give him some of the moolah as well. Shout out to the boy. Um, Actually, for you guys that have been OG fans, me and Shinobi, I mean, he's probably busy, but we were supposed to actually meet up in IRL. Like, we were supposed to meet up because we were close by. I don't know if he was supposed to come this week or next week, but if that happens, I'm gonna do an IRL stream for the first time. Probably on the phone, straight up, just me and Shinobi vibing with y'all. We're supposed to meet up in person and like vibe, just chill out and hang out and shit. So if that happens, I'm definitely gonna do an IRL stream if I can make that happen. We'll probably be on I'll probably stream straight from the phone, like on some streamer type vibes. We'll just hang with y'all, answer your questions, stuff like that. If not, if I can bring my setup, I'll bring my setup too, and we can like go to a cafe or something, like just vibe there and stream or something. But so that might happen soon. Still, stay tuned for that. Um, do you think the hate geekdom has gone for leaking Dama is justified? Now, there's two sides of the coin, right? One side is, hey, we all are waiting for this narrative to be released. Why are you leaking it when you have such a massive influence and following, right? The other side is you guys are the ones clicking on it on social media and scrolling down it, all right? You guys are scrolling down it and reading it. So it's two sides to the coin. I do think there's some culpability, in my opinion, on geekdom. Do I think it should be shit on and like the stuff that apparently has happened to him? I don't agree with that. At the end of the day, you could stop reading and scroll past it. Um, you know, try not to look at it. Easier said than done. Sometimes you'll just see shit and there you go, right? You got leaked. But it's extremely unjustifiable. Like how hard they're actually going on him just for that's too far. You can be mad at him. You can be like, dude, what the heck? But like, just completely shitting on him, I don't mess with that. That's too much. I don't like it. Like, dude, I haven't seen shit. I'm glad I haven't. I don't think I follow Geekdom on Twitter, but still, like, or on YouTube. And I like him though, but I'm just saying I don't follow him. Um, yeah, so that'd be a massive W. Yeah, we gotta make that happen because we're not that far from each other. So we could make that happen even now, like where we actually live, both of us. We don't live that far. We live a few hundred miles from each other. It's a few hours of a drive. We can meet halfway. I can go to him, he can come to me, or if he comes closer to where I'm at, like he was supposed to. I think he was supposed to this week or next week. We'll do a live stream for sure, IRL stream for sure, and we'll get a face reveal. I don't even know what he looks like, bro. So shout out to the boy. I don't know what he looks like still, by the way. He's an OG in the DB community. Yeah, Geekden's been around a long time. Shout out to the boy. Definitely an OG. Makes good content, yeah. Him, Carthew's Dojo, guys like that. Yeah. I haven't seen a Geekden video in a minute either. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, W Dragon Ball time. It's a good time to be a Dragon Ball fan. The video game coming out, Dragon Ball Daima. Hopefully we get the manga continued soon, the super manga rather, and the animation. It's been years. I know we're getting Dragon Ball Daima first, but maybe shortly after we'll get some super. You know, the moral arc, the granola arc, be amazing. Animated. Ultra Ego animated, dude. Come on, let's be honest here. The last Geeked video I saw was him talking about experience with Seth after he got exposed. Yeah, you know what's funny? That might have been the last video I've seen too. I did see that. I did see that when he was talking about that. And I know he did collabs with Seth, but I didn't know he was close to Seth, like close, like he said in the video. I know he did some collabs like Gogeta versus Vegito and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't know he was close either. But yeah, folks, expect some good content coming. Next week by this time, my collab video should be out. It's a great topic, in depth. Shout out to the boy that collabed with me. You guys will know that who it is. As soon as it comes out, you'll know like, oh, this was coming. This had to come eventually. Um, Shout out to the boy. That's gonna be a good video for sure. Trying to get that out by Thursday or Friday, the latest. Hopefully I can get the IRL stream popping. Me and Shinobi are both like very busy, in real life, but we'll try and make that happen. Hopefully he does come down here. He might have already have. We just, we haven't been in contact lately because I know he's busy. I've been busy, but either way, we gotta make that happen soon. Hopefully this year. Hopefully this year can make that happen for y'all. And shout out to the boy Batman. Keep him in prayers and stuff. And eventually we'll meet him in real life too. For sure. W Stream Jake, I gotta get to work. Stay up. Hey, I appreciate you coming in, brother. Appreciate the donation. Much love, brother. Feel free to DM me by any reactions, including me and Shinobi. I got you, brother, always. So I appreciate that, brother, for sure. But yeah, folks, a few more questions, unless it starts popping. A few more questions here. We'll depart. Friday sober. Let's go. Replace the bad habits. Hey, good shit, brother. Good shit, Dimitri. That's the best way to go. Replace good habits with bad ones. Replace bad habits with good ones. That's the way to go for sure. I got you. Hey, I appreciate that, brother. Much love, man. Much love. Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to go, man. I think a lot of men these days have their vices. A lot of men have their vices. Women, alcohol, uh, cigarettes, whatever. Certainly, unfortunately prevalent. But that's the best way to go. Replacing those vices with healthy habits is the way to go. That's good news, man. Amen to that, man. Amen to that. And what I've noticed is when you start breaking bad habits, you build momentum, your confidence, your even neural chemistry, your brain chemistry, right? It starts to rewire after time. It resets the dopamine system, right? It resets the 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 very chemistry of your brain, right? Because brains evolve while you're living. Neuroplasticity is the very nature of the brain's way of evolving. Like for example, you go to the you expose your mind to, let's say you're reading a lot of articles and stuff, right? You're reading a lot of whatever information. Your mind starts to adapt to that, starts to become very aware of it, starts to master it. Your mind's evolving to whatever you want it to do or to become. That's the beautiful nature of the mind, honestly. Was it Toriyama the war buffed or nerfed compared to the live Toriyama? Oh, he was nerfed. Yeah, he stated that he and other Edos were around 80 to 90% of what they are. He said virtually full power, like around 80 or 90%. So they're nerfed, slightly nerfed. But the upside is that they have no chakra depletion, they have no fatigue, they can't die, they have to be sealed. So there are some benefits as well to being an Edo. You're virtually full power, and you have no chakra depletion, and you have no fatigue kicking, and you can't die. So, but as far as power level, yeah, they're nerfed. Yeah. But yeah, folks, once again, make sure to hit the like button. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate that. Get this up in the algorithm, get some more eyeballs on here, and results in more productive and lit streams in the future as well. Make sure to hit the like button as well. And by the way, speaking of custom videos, you could also DM me about video topics. It could be whatever you guys want. A Dragon Ball topic, a Naruto topic. I'll do that as well. I know other creators do that. I've done it once before. I'll do that as well. So feel free to hit me up. It can be in the comment section of my videos, Discord, my server, Twitter DMs, whatever. Let me know. And again, I always give a fair price, and I'll make it happen. So feel free. KC1 Naruto versus Yellow Mask Obito. That's a good one because both are arguably relative to Minato at this point in time. Naruto's directly compared to Minato in KCM1 by the Raikage, and Yellow Mask Obito has a competitive battle with Minato. Now, here's the thing that this is the argument I would use. Minato, when he faces Obito, is arbitrarily stronger than he was against the Raikage. He was a Jonin at that point. Now I would have to go verify how long between those battles, how much time between those battles passed. If it's a substantial amount of time, I would say safely that he's at least arbitrarily stronger. I'm not gonna go out and say, oh, he's way stronger than when he fought the Raikage, but he's to some arbitrary extent more experienced, more skilled, more capable. So because of that, I would give the edge to Obito actually, especially with Kamui. Um, Early KCM1, I should say. I should be specific. Early KCM1 Naruto, early war KCM1 Naruto would lose to Yellow Mask Obito more than likely, off the top of my head, because of those reasons. Um, since Conan from the games is above Sasori, do you think that version of her wipes the signing one-on-one? That version? One-on-one? Man. Based off the dominance she seemed to have had, man. Without Edo Tensei, of course, right? Without Orochimaru using that. In their base forms, I think she could. Now, if they're using their Sonic Plus forms, that's a different conversation. Like Sage Mode Jiraiya, Hydra Stick Orochimaru, 100 Healing Tsunade. That might be a different discussion. I don't think she'd beat them one-on-one. Like, conjunctively versus her, I should say. She wouldn't beat them. Um, if you mean one-on-one, like each one individually, more than likely. More than likely. Do you think if all the Akatsuki, not Edo, jumped a lot of Hashirama, they could win? No. Not even Orange Mask Obito. He'd slaughter all of them. He's just physically superior by a large, large margin. Wood style, would be very detrimental. His Sage Mode, his AP, would be extremely detrimental to all of them. Their best win condition would be if they work conjunctively and use some kind of genjutsu or perhaps some sort of sealing. But again, he's way faster, way more powerful. It'd be very difficult to do that. Maybe even poisoning probably wouldn't work because of his hyper regeneration thanks to Sage mode. It's quite cracked. And theoretically, he could use Deep Forest Emergence to disperse the poison with his own poison. So there's so much shit he could do. Not to mention the fucking 1,000-hand Buddha statue shit. That should be cracked. Kaba versus Super Saiyan 4. What's going on, Kendrick? What's going on, bud? So there's arguments for both sides. There's power cliffing though, and generally in shonen anime, where the characters of today are more powerful than the characters of yesterday, in general. I actually think Kaba, because of how he performed against Vegeta in the Tournament of Power going Super Saiyan 2, there's an argument he could win. It's an interesting topic. Off the top of my head, I might say Kaba, because of the power cliffing that we see in Super from the prior arcs in Dragon Ball. I would lean towards Kaba currently, honestly, just because of the power cliffing. I know it's kind of disrespectful to Gogeta, but the power cliffing is insane. Top 5 Naruto Jutsu. As far as like power, or my preference is Shadow Clone Jutsu, Flying Raijin, Tsukuyomi. What else? What's another one that's just pretty lit? The 8 Gates. And what's another one that's lit? Maybe if we're including Boruto, honestly, the Rasengan Uzuhiko is fucking cracked. If not, no Boruto jutsu is included, then it's another one that's pretty cool. Honestly, particle style is really dope. Really, really dope. I really like that one. What's up, fam? What's going on, brother? It's good to see you in here, man. But yeah, going back to Hashirama versus the Akatsuki, he's Madara and Hashirama are just far above everyone in the verse. Besides, like obviously pre Six Pass and excluding a gay guy, they're way above everybody except like KCM 2 Season 1 Naruto, and maybe late war Kime Sasuke. So could Senju unlock the Renegon if they stole Madara's cells? So here's the thing, right? We see Madara do it with Hashirama cells, so it's almost as if the blend and the mixture of these cells, right? These sort of cells that we see, these reincarnations, more than likely would lead to that. Because think of it like this: Obito. The reason I say it reincarnations only is because Obito had Hashirama cells, yet he never awakened, a Renegon, right? And he has Uchiha cells. So we know that you can't just be Uchiha and take Hashirama cells. You have to be a reincarnation, right? So I only believe Hashirama could more than likely pull that off. It'd have to be Hashirama specifically because he is a reincarnation. That'd be the only way, in my opinion. I think if it was like Tobirama, for example, he wouldn't unlock the Renegon, in my opinion. Because Obito couldn't, and he's not a reincarnation. When he took Hashirama cells, he's an Uchiha, right? So more than likely that wouldn't be the case. It'd have to be reincarnations. Like Naruto, if he took Sasuke cells, he'd probably get the Renegon. Is there a Jutsu we've seen on screen that could one-shot Kaguya? Honestly, I don't know if Barama Naruto would literally one-tap her, but probably. The Rasengan Uzuhiko would probably one-shot Kaguya if Naruto was Boruto was at full power and was like bloodlusted. That probably would one-shot her. What else? Perhaps Ishiki's Dojutsu, like if he drops a giant cube on her ass, that might kill her. There's only a very select few that would do that, honestly. But I honestly think the Rasengan Uzuhiko would one-shot her, like full power. I mean, like him trying to kill somebody, like with the karma or whatever, like full power Boruto, which we haven't even seen yet, actually, which is crazy. He fucking destroyed Code, and we still haven't seen him at full power, which is just insane. So there's a couple, I'd say. Rasengan Uzuhiko, maybe some sort of Ishiki ninja Shinjutsu, maybe Fuse Momo, maybe like some sort of combo between Sasuke and Naruto could one-shot her. There's a couple, but that have to be like the most powerful people that the Narutoverse has to offer. What if Naruto had KCM1 only when he fought Pain instead of Sage Mode? Would he do better or worse? He'd certainly do better. His speed would be better. The time window of for a combat would be better. Um, his chances would greatly enhance, and I honestly think he'd win because Pain was fatigued. He certainly wasn't Edo Nagato level, especially with red hair. Um, so he probably would actually defeat Pain, or at least destroy the path to Pain, right? Um, his chances of success would greatly rise. His AP would be off, much honestly higher than Sage Naruto. He has BG bombs. His speed is greater. He even says blatantly to Nagato, "I'm stronger than when you fought me last," right? And he's in KCM1 when he says that. So, yeah. What type of eyes would the offspring of Uchiha and Hyuga have? Man, that would be a weird combination. The perception would be fucking cracked. We know that. Their ability to engage in combat in close quarters would be fucking cracked. Just imagine having the Byakugan to shut down chakra networks and the perception sort of enhancement due to the Sharingan at the same time. They might have one of each, perhaps. That is a possibility. Or they had some weird mixture, some new dojutsu emerges. It'd be really, really cracked. The most underrated and overrated clans in Naruto. Underrated? Good question. Underrated. Maybe the Hyuga? Um, because with the guy I collabed with, I'm not going to say his name until the video comes out, or maybe a few days before when I kind of tease the video that's coming out next week. We talked in the novels. We were looking at a feat that one of the most powerful Hyuga in history did against, I believe it was Kid Itachi and Shisui. I don't know if Itachi was in the Anbu yet, but he was already pretty powerful. He had a Sharingan already. Him and Shisui got fucked up, and they had to use Kodo against this Hyuga. Like, they didn't have a chance. Both of them didn't have a chance against this Hyuga. I forgot the name, like Mizuka or something like that. But that just goes to show you how powerful Hyugas can be. I'd say they're the most underrated. The most overrated, I don't know, it's ironic. I'm probably the Uzumaki overall. They have outliers. Fucking Naruto Uzumaki is the outlier of outliers. And Nagato is an outlier, having fucking Renegons implanted in his eyeballs. So probably the Uzumaki. They're fodder. I mean, I just showed you guys a panel where Mito Uzumaki says they're fucking fodder in war. They're as far as the Cherokee vessels, they're the best. But as far as combat, the majority of them are fodder. One of the elders of the Uzumaki said that themselves. So. How do you think an Edo would react if they were hit by Uzuhiko, considering they really can't die? I think it would. I don't think it'd have an effect because it's almost like an internal thing, right? Because when Code gets hit by it, he's like fucking staggering, falling over, sort of wincing in pain, like it's affecting him internally. So I don't think it'd do anything. They're sort of desensitized to damage. They don't feel damage, right? Now here's an interesting thing I did notice though. When Boruto used Uzuhiko and Hidari, he blew his ass in half, I think, or actually like caused him to become a thorn soul bulb, right? And what we do know is that Edos can be like hit and sort of staggered. Like for example, when Hiruzen, I believe it was Hiruzen and Tobirama, they got blown in half by a Jubito. They weren't killed, right? Because they can't die, but they were blown in half. Not by the True Seeking Orb, because that does kill them, but they were blown in half and they kind of just stood there, right? So theoretically, Boruto could like stagger them, right? If he were to go all out with a Uzuhiko, but he can't kill them, right? So he might blow their asses away with it. Or theoretically, because it's everlasting, right? The way it works is as long as the Earth keeps rotating, it keeps affecting them. It could have this infinite loop of continuously blowing them up because the damage they would try to, the body would try to re-put itself together, right? Because these Edo bodies keep putting themselves together, and then the Uzuhiko would just keep blowing it up and over. It'd be like an infinite loop of damage. That's the way I would look at it. If Boruto's like trying to like fucking just obliterate these Edos. That's actually an interesting question. It'd have like this weird infinite loop of damage sort of reaction and sort of interaction. Uzumaki one goes out of control in the fandom. That shit is that shit is cracked, bro. That shit is cracked. Uh, I've seen people make a troll argument that it's a horrible plot of the part when Naruto and Sasuke didn't unlock Renegons when they kissed. What the fuck? Yeah, that's dumb as shit. Besides Naruto and Sasuke, who was the most important in the war arc? Besides those two, probably 8 Gates guy. Wait, 8 Gates guy, because he gave them the time window to become six paths, right? If it weren't for him, he would have fucking killed everybody. Um, Jubidar just would have slaughtered everyone. Maybe 8 Gate. Oh, I mean, I could say Sakura. I hate to say that, but she was obviously pivotal. Kakashi, actually, scratch all that. Kakashi, because of DMS, that made him like the third most important person after Naruto and Sasuke. Surprised at how much old footage Batman had recorded prior to the accident. Been a week since. But yeah, he's always, dude. Batman is a grinder, bro. He probably has like weeks of footage. Maybe a couple weeks more, I'd say at least. He has a lot of footage. Yeah, he's always grinding. How strong was Hinata during the last? So she actually absorbed or inherited Hamura's chakra somehow. So she has six pass chakra. That goes to show you how powerful she is. Now, is she as strong as Hamura or as strong as like Hagoromo or something? I don't know about that, but she's six past tier, blatantly. People still think that the other four Green Nations banded together to destroy the Uzumaki. Yet fear is still crazy. Nothing implies that are taken out by anyone of importance. Yeah, when we were reacting to the video, I'm probably gonna post it as a clip, by the way. I was talking about that. They're fodder. There's no reason for nations to band together. They're fodder. They were exploited by multiple nations. Mita Uzumaki and the Minato one-shot states, they were scattered amongst the nations because they're fodder and they're literally war fodder utilized for their life forces and their Funjutsu proficiency. That's all. They weren't this fucking cracked ass Senju type clan or Uchiha type clan. They were just very powerful as far as life forces are concerned, you know. So I agree. It is pretty. The Uzumaki wank is pretty out of control. People hate on Talk no Jutsu too much. Yeah, I could see that. Sometimes it's fucking dumb, you know, like fucking peen, low key. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm biased. I'm glad it happened because Kakashi's still alive. But you know, it's like, come on, bro, low key. But yeah, it is hated a little too much. I agree with that. Thoughts and debaters should argue that you need to prove that a claim is completely objectively true for it to be usable in an argument. That's just a blatant appeal to ignorance. It's a blatant appeal to ignorance because in fictional based debates, there is no way to objectively verify a lot of information, especially contentious natured topics. Right? There is no way to verifiably 100% conclude on any aspect when it comes to those kind of topics. So to claim that, oh, you have to objectively prove this or you're wrong is a lose-lose situation because no one can do that. At that point, both sides would have to conclude that the verdict is non-conclusive because no one can do that. There's no way to verify something that isn't factually proven, that isn't shown blatantly or stated blatantly or proved blatantly. You have to use logic to enhance the probability of your claim at that point. At that point, it's a battle of logic and argumentation. So to say that, oh, you need to objectively prove a claim, it's a blatant appeal to ignorance. Blatant. How strong were Kin and Gin? Do you think if they jump Hashirama, he would have struggled? Oh, hell no, he wouldn't. I think he's at least, you know, when they're in their primes, he is arbitrarily substantially stronger than Tobirama. I think they would have been fucking fodder to him. Donzo versus Sasori. Now the problem, here's the thing. Donzo's Izanagi makes him a problem for many, right? Sasuke just happened to be the kryptonite because he had Susanoo, right? So Donzo just couldn't fucking one-shot him or do some fucking, you know, like Shisui type off-guard shit, right? He couldn't do that because Sasuke was into Susanoo, bloodlusted. Now, Sasori could use poison, right? He could use poison, surround himself with it, and every time Donzo would resurrect or whatever, or use Izanagi, he would inhale that again, right? So I do think Sasori would most likely win. His scaling as well, arguably, is above that of Donzo. Donzo was a rival of Hiruzen, obviously inferior. Even, you know, we do know Orochimaru beats Hiruzen. So I do think Sasori is above any Sannin individually. Definitely in base, based off the Hanzo scaling. So I'd probably say Sasori. But I do think Donzo could win. If Sasori doesn't take him seriously, he could win. He could certainly win. It's not extremely one-sided. It's not one-sided. It's relatively competitive actually. If you had a clone do a Reaper Death Seal, but you didn't, and the clone vanishes, would your soul be trapped, or would it be like Oro, where part of the soul is trapped? Now, I think a prerequisite for the Reaper Death Seal is an actual soul. So it either wouldn't work at all, or it would just take your soul. There's no in between, in my opinion. Because in the instance of Orochimaru, the reason why only part of his soul is ripped out was because he was in like cut what he could before he lost his life, right? Um, so that wouldn't be the case here. I don't think that'd be equivalent. I think your whole either it wouldn't work because the user is a clone, or it would just rip your soul out. You know, a lot of our real debate topics are impossible to objectively prove too. Agreed. So many morality topics, so many. There is no objective answer. It's all about rationality and honestly appeal to emotion, especially in politics. You can't objectively prove anything. Like, oh, should we have the death penalty? Or what's the perfect solution for immigration? What's the perfect solution for gun control? What's the perfect solution for this and that? Like, there is no way to objectively prove anything in that. You're right about that. You have to appeal to emotion in politics. Unfortunately, it's a logical fallacy, but it's a useful one when you're trying to win an election. That's for sure. Unfortunately, um, Genjutsu doesn't work as a story. Also, yep, that would also be very advantageous for him. He doesn't even need Genjutsu resistance. He just doesn't. It just isn't affected by it. I think Hiruzen Soul was shown split into three when he used his Shadow clones. Really? I'd have to go back and see that again. The continuum fallacy is the one that's the most annoying to come across. Yeah, yeah, very, very, a very high nuisance fallacy. Yeah. Either way, I find it safe to assume that you can't live with less than half of your soul. Yeah, agreed, agreed. Because what happened to Orochimaru is he lost access to his arms. Like it's a weird sort of interaction, right? But it's almost like part of his soul was like control. It's a weird interaction, but he lost like his ability to use his arms and stuff. So it's a strange interaction. It's a good question though, with the clone using the Reaper Death Seal. Logically, this is actually a good answer. I think it wouldn't be the case because someone of Minato's talents, for example, right, who more than likely can at least make a couple shadow clones, would have done so if a clone could do it and his soul wasn't ripped out, right? Um, or if he could have survived, right? If only part of his soul was ripped and he could have survived, he would have done that instead and not kill himself. So he could have stayed there for Naruto's sake. So that's another argument, proof of your contradiction as to why that probably wouldn't work. Probably wouldn't be possible. Yeah. But yeah, folks, about 5 more minutes and we'll depart. Almost out 3 hours here. Definitely W stream, W Prodigy for the donations as well. Hopefully we got my boy Sean next week with back on the pod with me. We'll see. I also find it weird that ninjas can literally grab their own souls and try to push them back into their bodies if someone tries to steal it. So yeah, they have like this weird tug of war interaction. It is really interesting to see that. It's definitely interesting to see that kind of thing. Souls are like tangible at that point and pullable, and ninjas can pull back. It's almost like it's a tangible thing that they're grasping to somehow. Like there's like these magical invisible hands in them that pull back, like this spiritual tug of war. That was an interesting interaction when you see that. How well would A with Onoki making him lighter do against Yellow Mask Obito, Casey Naruto? No. Honestly, I think Onuki amping A would at least allow him to beat the early Casey when Naruto that outsped him at the beginning of the war. I think he'd beat him. As far as Yellow Mask Obito and Minato, with Obito, man, it's hard to kind of gauge where he's at exactly at that point in time. With Minato, I say this: I don't think so because, man, Minato as a Jonin, right, quite casually reacted to the Raikage at full speed, right? So as a Hokage, he'd be more obviously more capable. Arbitrarily, I'm not gonna say way more powerful. There's no way to verify that, but to some extent more powerful. Um, Now, A with Onuki, I would say could close that gap, more than likely. But Minato wasn't in a dire danger against the Raikage. It wasn't like it was close at that point, you know. Um, Honestly, I probably think he still wouldn't beat Minato, and mostly because of Flying Raijin. Um, Obito, man, it's so close. I think they're these guys are all like in the same league at this point. Give or take, the bare minimum, they're all in the same league here. Um, Obito, due to his experience, etc. Excuse me, A's experience rather, and, with Oniki aiding him, I'd probably say he'd take Obito too. It'd be tough. Be tough. It's hard to gauge the gaps between these guys. I think they're all relatively close in speed. Um, I'll be throwing all three of these guys. So but yeah, that'll be my conclusion. Minato might be the only one that wouldn't be able to be defeated by Amped A. Were Kaguya, Hamura, and Hagoromo considered lower tier in the Otsutsuki clan? So Kaguya, so during the Boruto narrative, there's this stone tablet that kind of shows the hierarchical structure of the Otsutsuki. It shows Ishiki at the top, right? It shows Kaguya and Momo parallel to each other, and then it shows Kinshiki below them, almost as if he's inferior to them. So I would say they're like mid-rank, around there. Mid-rank Otsutsuki, Kaguya rather, is mid-rank. Hagoromo and Hamura admit inferiority. Hagoromo blatantly admits inferiority to Kaguya, right? And Hamura is weaker than him because when Hamura was controlled by Kaguya, Hagoromo was able to beat him out of his trance, right? That Kaguya had him in when he was trying to turn Hamura against him. So they're both weaker than Kaguya. Conjunctively, they were able to beat her. So I would say those two are probably lower tier Otsutsuki in general. Kaguya is mid tier. Hamura and Hagoromo are low tier. Together, they're able to take Kaguya on to like mid tier in conjunction. Kaguya is mid tier, I'd say, around mid tier. What if Asura and Indra fought Madara? They'd fucking destroy him. They're Otsutsuki tier. Yeah, they'd fucking destroy him. I should be more specific. Alive Madara. They'd destroy him. If Datara couldn't fly, he'd be a Kakasu victim. I mean, he could do some damage. I don't think he's fucking like slow as shit, but he's not made for close quarters combat, right? He'd have to use his clay very efficiently if he can't fly and evade and stuff like that. So, how did Obito spam calmly for 2 decades without his eyesight deteriorating at all? I think the main answer to that would be Hashirama cells. The main answer to that. And two, I think he has underrated levels of stamina. Underrated levels of stamina. There's also this theory that I've come to sort of formulate that perhaps he would replace his eyes every so often, because he has Sharingans. But then again, the ability would change, so that might not work either, theoretically. So I'd say because of Hashirama cells, that's the best answer for sure. Hashirama cells certainly aided him, from a chakra standpoint, from a physical standpoint, durability standpoint, AP standpoint as well. Thanks to Wood style. So yeah. But yeah, folks, I think it's gonna wrap it up. 3 hours here today. W Stream, W Prodigy. Thanks for the donations, brother. Thanks for all the questions. Great questions. One more time, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. I'll answer these last couple questions and I'll depart. What's the best dojutsu in terms of design? In my opinion, well, the MS has several, right? So probably Ishiki's was pretty cool. Like the eight pass implied sort of design. Probably. I think it's more reasonable to assume that his version of Kami costs little or no eyesight. That's another thing I'd agree with. I think it's very slight in chakra consumption, on top of the fact that, he has Hashirama cells. But yeah, folks, W stream. Appreciate y'all, all y'all. Make sure to hit the like button if you aren't already. Much love to y'all. Expect a great video coming soon. And I'll make sure to shout out the boy that collabed with me. But anyways, much love, folks, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay classy, y'all.